And we'll start with roll call. Counselor Arditi.
Here.
Counselor Cunningham.
Here.
Counselor Tyso.
Here.
Council President Gearhart.
Here.
Counselor Mitchell.
Here.
Counselor Quanstrom is absent tonight, excused. And Mayor Kazmierski here. Moving on, if you would like and are able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's right. Just stand over there and I'll hand it.
No, you were, I was fine.
All right, thank you all for being here. It's good to see your faces. We are going to move on. We've got a few meeting minutes that we are going to consider and approve. The first one would be our November 10th, 2025 special city council meeting. I do not have any edits for this. If you do, please raise your hand. Okay, would someone like to move to approve?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes of November 10th, 2025.
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Counselor Tyso. Motion on the table is to approve minutes from November 10th, 2025. Roll call vote. Counselor Arditi,
Here.
we're voting for the minutes for November 10th.
I'm still here.
Is that a yes?
I say that's a yes.
Okay. Counselor Cunningham. Counselor Tyso.
Yes.
Council President Gearhart.
Yes.
Counselor Mitchell.
Because I was not on council at that meeting, I will abstain from this vote.
Okay. And Mayor Kazmierski, yes. Motion passes. Next set of minutes we have is November 19th. I do have one edit, maybe it's the same as yours. Just Prothman under roll call.
No, I just noticed probably about 5 or 6 typos in that one.
In that one? Okay, do you want to go through them?
Well, no.
Not important enough?
I
Okay.
don't- You know, it's just misspellings and auto spelling council, COUNSEL instead of CIL in one instance and that sort of thing. And, maybe somebody wants to go back and just sort of relook at them.
Miss Ida, those matter? Council versus council?
If it changes the meaning of the minutes, if it creates
Okay.
confusion, they are 2 different words.
Okay, let's take a look then. Are you sure it was that one? Because I did notice some in a different one.
Fisher was misspelled. I think it was, it was on the January 21st one where
Okay.
council is misspelled one time. I mean, I wasn't confused by reading it, but somebody else could possibly.
Then I think that the council can vote on it and authorize the city recorder to make corrections to the typographic errors.
Okay, do we need to point out each one?
If you want the city recorder to make corrections,
Yeah.
he'll need
Okay.
to note each one.
So the one for November 19th, I just found Prothman under roll call. Did you see any others for the 19th? Or anybody else?
Just Fisher Road was misspelled and.
Do you know what
Collier
section that was in?
misspelled.
Do you know what section that was in?
The Fisher Road was under the TSP relook and Collier was misspelled in the staff reports.
Okay. Okay, I do see that in TSP relook. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth paragraph down. Okay, so that was Fisher, and then staff reports you said for Collier.
Mm-hmm.
Let's scroll all the way down that far. Okay. Yep, first paragraph. Okay. Any other edits? Okay, can I get a motion to approve with edits? Anybody? November 19th.
I move that the November 19th minutes be approved with edits.
Okay, do I hear a second? Great. Second by Council President, and we will go to roll call vote. Counselor Mitchell.
Being not on council at that time, I abstained from this vote.
Okay, Council President Gearhart.
Yes.
Counselor Tyso.
Yes.
Counselor Cunningham.
Yes.
Counselor Arditi.
Yes.
Mayor Kazmersky, yes. Motion passes. All right, next set of minutes, we have December 3rd, 2025 was our executive and special session. I have one edit here, Aaron Carey instead of Aaron Casey in roll call. Any other edits? Okay. If nothing else, we can approve with edits.
I move that we approve the minutes from December 3 with the edit.
I second.
Okay, motion on the floor is to approve December 3rd minutes with edits. Counselor Cunningham.
Yes.
Counselor Tyso.
Yes.
Counselor Arditi.
Yes.
Council President Gearhart.
Yes.
Counselor Mitchell.
Again, I abstained due to not being on the council.
Okay, Mayor Kazmersky, yes. Motion passes. All right, next one, we've got January 21st, regular city council meeting.
I've got a correction needs to be made.
Okay, go for it.
Courtney Neron's name is misspelled.
Okay.
It should be Neron.
And that is in the city manager report.
I don't remember.
I have it listed too, so yes.
Oh,
It's in the
okay.
city manager report.
Nothing gets by us.
Okay, do you have others?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. I did see in the December financials, Cassell was misspelled.
Yes.
Is that the one you, okay. And then, under resolution 2026-01, Sue Reiki Smith is misspelled. Reiki, I think Reiki. I think it's Ricky instead of Reiki.
I looked it up.
It's R-I-E-K. You have it right further down, but in that section, under that resolution, it's
Okay.
Ricky, like R-I-C-K-Y. And then we have Aragoni misspelled in staff reports. That's all I had. Did you have more?
Yeah,
Okay.
just under open forum, Carl Swanson spoke about the TSP, and that is
Please speak into your mic.
Huh?
Please speak into your mic.
That's where council is misspelled.
Gotcha. So open forum, second paragraph.
Yes.
Yes, yep. It's fourth line down. All right, any other edits? All right. Somebody like to move to approve with edits? Looks like it's your job tonight.
Okay. I move that we approve the January 21, 2026 minutes with edits.
I second.
All right, motion on the table is to approve January 21st, 2026 minutes with edits. Council President Gearhart,
Yes.
Councilor Mitchell.
Once again, I abstained because I wasn't on council at the time.
All righty. Councilor Tyso,
Yes.
Councilor Arditi,
Yes.
Councilor Cunningham.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
I have a technical issue.
Sure.
My iPad's not working. It's not picking up the agenda. Is there?
Do you want a hard copy?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yours probably is the same problem as mine.
All right, last set of minutes we have is February 4th, 2026, our work session. I did not see edits in that one.
Neither
Did
did I.
anybody else? Okay, somebody like to move to approve?
I move to approve the minutes for February 4th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, second by Councilor
I need to
Cunningham.
make a statement.
Okay,
I missed the beginning of that meeting because I didn't get here till 9 o'clock. And at the beginning of the meeting, this is for the charter review, correct?
yeah,
Yep. And the direct election of mayor rather than appointment by city council. I want that to be a vote of the public, not a direct election. And I think we need to do a, what are we gonna do, Aaron?
Poll?
A poll. Just so that's part of the record, please.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna have further work sessions, so.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Motion on the floor is to approve February 4th minutes, made by, who made it? Counselor Tyso?
Standard.
She seconded it.
Second, Steve.
Maybe I did, yeah.
Okay. Council President, okay. So the second by Counselor Cunningham. Counselor Tyso?
Yes.
Counselor Cunningham?
Yes.
Counselor Mitchell?
Yes.
Council President?
Yes.
Yeah, he was here. Okay. And Counselor Arditi?
Yes.
All right, whew, made it through those. Good job, everybody. Okay, next up, we have special presentations, and we are going to begin with Missy and our City Council Governance 101.
Yes. Counselor Mitchell has a question.
I had a question. I noticed that December 17th minutes aren't on the list. Are they coming yet?
Yes.
Yet to come?
Yeah,
Okay.
we still have a few that we're catching up on. Ronnie's
right.
doing a great job working through them,
All
so,
right, thank you.
yes. All right, Missy.
Thanks. Okay, Ronnie is gonna be pulling up my slide presentation. There's just about 20 substantive slides. I wanted to just take this opportunity because we have 2 new counselors. One of them unfortunately isn't here, but maybe she can watch the recording, to go over some of the basics of public meetings and records for you all, and also for the public, and also for me, because it never hurts to have a refresher. So, Ronnie, could you go to next slide, which would be slide number 2 on the bottom? Thank you. So tonight, the topics for discussion are, we're gonna have a brief overview of how our city has determined that its governance and the council authority is going to be handled. We're gonna talk about public meetings requirements and restrictions, a little bit about public records, and a tiny slice of ethics, because that is a whole slideshow of its own. So, Ronnie, next slide, please. Thanks for managing this. So, just a reminder that for the council authority, you thankfully have elected to engage in public service, and I certainly thank you for your dedicated public service. But what that means when you become a counselor is that you can only act as a body. The charter and the code do not grant any individual counselor the authority to act on behalf of the city or the city council. What that means is elected officials, including you all, are expected to abide by the decisions of the council, whether or not you voted on the prevailing side. So I one time had a counselor ask if she could write a dissent, and the answer was no, because the council can only act as a body. If you're authorized to represent the city before the public or another government agency, I know you all have committee assignments that you went over in September. You have to support and advocate only for the official position of the city on those. So whether or not you agree with it, can't go to the Metro MPAC or whatever that you're on and say the city position, but then say, but I don't agree with that. If you express personal comments, personal opinions or comments, you have to make clear that you're acting in an individual capacity and not representing the city's position. If you want to express, and this has a big giant asterisk near it anyway, but if you do want to express personal comments or opinions, if you do that in writing, I suggest you use a personal email and keep it out of the city's purview. Any questions? Okay, moving right along so we can hit our end time of 8:15. Council authority, form of government. So many years ago, the citizens of King City decided to elect the council manager form of government, and that's what your citizens have chosen. The charter in section 301 says that the form of the government for King City shall be the council manager form of government, and the structure consists of the governing council, you all, a mayor, a city manager, and other officers or personnel. The charter also contains section 4.06, which essentially says the council or its members shall deal with city employees solely through the city manager, and except in the absence of the city manager, neither the council nor its members shall give orders or direction to any employee publicly or privately. And this is a particularly important requirement for a couple of reasons. One is, again, to respect the voters of King City who have chosen the council manager form of government, and also to respect the city manager's position as the, head of the administrative arm of the city, let's say. In addition, there are issues of compliance with the collective bargaining agreement and not accidentally engaging employees in work outside of their union bargained work hours. I think those are kind of the three main ones I wanted to flag. The municipal code also, and then the municipal code sets out the powers and duties of the city manager. It's in section 2.08040. If you want a little light reading, you can go over that. The moral is, please don't give direction to any city employees except the city manager. Next slide, please. Thanks, Ronnie. Okay, public meetings laws. So this is governed by a complex set of statutes at ORS 192.660. Elected and appointed officials must meet in public to make or deliberate towards decisions. So who's subject to the law? Governing body of the public body, that's you all. Advisory bodies, that would be the budget committee is an example of an advisory body. I'm not sure if the city has other advisory bodies at the moment. The planning commission, subcommittees of the city council, which I don't think you all have at the moment, and citizen groups formed to advise the public body. All subject to public meetings laws. A meeting is the convening of a governing body for which a quorum is required in order to make a decision or deliberate toward a decision on any matter. All meetings must be in public and open to the public, and all persons have to be permitted to attend any meeting except executive sessions. Excuse me. So quorum requirements are for the council. 4 of you would constitute a quorum right now because we have a full council, which means that no more, four of you cannot meet in private. That's important to keep in mind. Always be counting the number of people, of counselors that you're talking to. May not meet in private for the purpose of deciding or deliberating towards a decision on any matter except for executive sessions. Next slide, please, Ronnie. So here I want to talk about public meetings and when they're convened, because they can sneak up on you and you can have an accidental, unfortunate circumstance public meeting. The obvious one, here we are gathered in a physical location. We don't need to talk too much about that, but a little bit farther down in the slides, I'm going to explain what are some of the exceptions for being able to gather for social purposes. Next slide, please, Ronnie. Certain, I'm going too fast
Are we
for
a
you
slide
here.
behind? Yeah.
We are.
Next one.
We're 2 slides behind because I'm trying to be so fast. We're on slide 8.
You're going
It's slide 8 on the bottom.
Here we go.
There we go. So these are the meetings that aren't subject to public meetings laws. So gatherings that are purely factual or educational in nature and that convey no deliberation or decision on any matter that might reasonably come before the governing body. So if, for example, you all get invited on a kayaking trip on the Tualatin River. You are welcome to do that as long as you're not discussing city business or this is information gathering or educational in nature. That is okay. It has some ethics law nuances that we'll get into another time. Social gatherings, I just want to reiterate, social gatherings are okay, but please do not discuss any city business. And I know that's really hard because we all live here on Earth. So, okay, next slide. Thank you, Ronnie. You can have an email meeting accidentally. Use of electronic video or telephone technology to communicate contemporaneously. This is why our emails say, my emails and the city managers and the interim city managers say, please do not reply all to this email, because if it's about a matter that is going to come before you as decision maker, you can have an accidental meeting. So just please don't reply all. But, scheduling meetings and communications that aren't substantive in nature, those are fine. And it's also fine to reply all, to say that day doesn't work for me, but don't say that day doesn't work for me. And also, I don't know about this annexation proposal. Next slide, please. This is the tricky one. This is the one that has gotten a lot of airtime from the Oregon Government Ethics Commission and involves serial meetings. And these occur when you are communicating either emails and texts, sometimes social media posts, directly or through intermediaries to discuss or take action on a matter. It can be true even at no time does communication occur contemporaneously. So I have a couple examples here. Ronnie, next slide, please. Thank you so much. So here in this example, we have Counselor A. Let's use Counselor Arditi, because you're A. Because of A, the A.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
On February 1st to discuss increasing the July 4th parade city contribution by 10%. And then on February 5th, the mayor calls Councilor Gearhart, the council president, to see if the council president would also be supportive of increasing that contribution. Then, the next day, unbeknownst to the mayor and the council president, Councilor Arditi sends a text message to Councilor Mitchell to see if Councilor Mitchell would support increasing the 4th of July parade city contribution. So Councilor Arditi doesn't know about the other communications, but the body has created a public meeting in violation of the public meetings law. Because 4 of you have deliberated not contemporaneously towards a decision. So that's a fun example I came up with. Next slide, Ronnie. Thanks. This is another tricky one. So here we have a citizen, let's use Councilor Tyso, post a comment on Nextdoor about an upcoming land use hearing, and the comment generates a robust discussion. 3 members of the 7-member planning commission, let's pretend you're on the planning commission, also make comments and share opinions on this Nextdoor thread, and a 4th member reads the comments and also makes a comment. That there's that magic number 4 again. Because a quorum have communicated opinions on Nextdoor on a matter that will require a vote, the members may have created a serial meeting. I think the moral of the story is it's probably best to stay off Nextdoor. Or Facebook, or whatever your preferred thing is. The next thing I wanted to just point out, this is a topic of much discussion, and it's actually a topic of discussion in the legislature right now. And there's a Senate Bill 4177 has been proposed by some people to try to get a little bit more concrete guidance on the accidental use of an intermediary. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that legislation. The Government Ethics Commission is not supportive of that legislation, so it's kind of odd. Plus, I don't know what's going to happen in the legislature. But anyway, so in this example, the city manager is contacting each counselor individually to ask them for their thoughts on whether the rental fee for the soccer field should be adjusted. He does not convey information received to other members of the council, but he uses the information gained from the discussions with individual council members to create a staff report. In this example, he's gathering information in order to create a staff report, and the council did not engage in deliberations or make a decision through the city manager as the intermediary. This is okay. This is an acceptable way to gather information. Next slide, please, Ronnie. This next one is where we could get into trouble, all of us. The city manager contacts each counselor individually and asks for their thoughts on the rental fee. And the mayor says, well, I think it should go up 10%. And the city manager then conveys to the council president and two other counselors, that magic number 4 again, that the mayor has proposed a 10% increase. Then one of the counselors that he's talking to says, well, I think it should be 5%. Then the city manager presents the mayor's and the other counselors' suggestions to the other counselors individually. This is the city council acting through an intermediary and creating a public meeting that violates the public meetings law. That is not what we should be doing, that scenario. Okay. Okay. Next slide. Thanks, Ronnie. You're anticipating me. So now we have executive sessions, which are all very familiar with because we've had a few. Public bodies can meet in executive sessions only in specified situations. Typically, those are to discuss real property transactions, exempt public records, pending or threatened litigation, employee performance reviews in a complex situation, and labor negotiations. However, the public body can hold an open session even when the law permits it to hold an executive session. That is important to keep in mind. Except for under employee performance reviews, there's a specific section of the statute that we have to follow. Next slide, please. But no executive session can be held for the purpose of taking any final action or making a final decision. Important to remember. The most that you could do would be to reach consensus. A big thing here is, unless required by law, no member of a board or commission should make public the discussions or information obtained in an executive session. This is a Robert's Rules of Order rule. It is also a statute in ORS 244.0404. For executive sessions, I'm on the next slide, Ronnie, sorry. What we do is we announce the specific statutory authority for the executive session. This is another place where we have to make sure we don't get into trouble. The specific statutory authority limits the topics of the discussion in the executive session. So if the council calls an executive session for the purpose of discussing pending or threatened litigation, we cannot also discuss a real property transaction. It's important to stay within those lines or we've violated the public meetings laws. Note, media are permitted to attend in almost all situations, but they may not report. However, they can use information obtained in executive session to follow other leads. Okay, next slide. It's going so much faster than I wanted. Oh, great. Public meetings law violations, which aren't going to happen here, so this is just an FYI. Any person may file a complaint with the OGEC for public meeting violations. The liability is personal, and the OGEC will investigate, may find a violation, and may impose penalties up to $1,000 per violation, and again, that is personal liability. The city doesn't cover that. Typically, the OGEC will issue a letter of reprimand, an explanation, or require education as a first level. The other big potential problem is that a court may invalidate certain decisions that were made out of compliance with public meetings laws. Next slide. Public records. So we're past public meetings and we're moving on to public records. I have to say I'm really glad I wasn't doing this at 8:30 at night. Public records are any writing. Writing is very, very broad. Oh, Ronnie, if you could hit the next slide for me, thanks so much. There we go. The definition of writing is very, very broad. It includes sounds, honestly, so it includes audio recordings. Notes, some examples are notes that you might take during a meeting or an executive session. Emails and social media posts, and in particular, any social media posts that you make during a meeting are public records. Theirs are not limited to records on your city-issued device. So the city has a great and very organized way of keeping track of public records because you all get issued your iPad. But just please be aware that if you are conducting city business on your personal device or through your personal email, those are subject to potential discovery and release through a public records request. So my advice there is if you do decide that you want to engage in city business over a private email, try to segregate those, maybe create an Outlook folder where you put those, and make sure that when you're talking about the city business, only talk about the city business. So don't say like, well, I wanted to talk about the fee for the soccer field, and also, can you give me your mom's chocolate chip cookie recipe? Those were so good. Because then it's going to be a lot harder, and a lot of personal information that you may not want disclosed in a public records in response to a public records request is going to get in there, even though the chocolate chip cookie recipe is awesome. There are exemptions to the public records statute. The exemptions are longer than the statute itself, and your staff is very good at fulfilling public records requests and understanding the exemptions. We can do a deeper dive into that another time. Next slide, please, Ronnie. Thank you. Oh, I already went through the tips. So next slide. There we go. This is the final slide. The one thing I wanted to point out about government ethics, and this is really, I think I heard Councilor Gearhart just took the ethics training. It was 2 hours and 5 minutes. We have a record of that, and it is very long, but it is actually really useful to take again, even if you've seen it already. But the one thing I wanted to emphasize again is confidentiality. It's really important because you're all put in a high position of trust and able to see confidential information in ways that if if an executive session is called, or if you are otherwise able to view confidential information, it is important under the statute to keep that confidential. That's the main thing I wanted to emphasize from here. And I'm happy to take questions. And I was going to let you stop me for questions because I can never remember a question for like 2 minutes. Otherwise, I'll be here and we can go through them all again. The last slide is a handy phone number for the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. If you ever have questions, they are actually really helpful. And if you lay out your hypothetical or your real situation for them, they'll be able to guide you as to what the right course of action is. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Right, we'll get a copy of these slides.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to our next presentation. Washington County Commissioner Snyder. Come on up. Sure.
Last time I think I'm not on the table here, but good to see all of you and some new faces. So I'm Jason Snyder, Washington County Commissioner for District 3, which includes King City, Tigard, Durham, Tualatin, Sherwood, and a bunch of unincorporated Washington County. My goal tonight and in these sessions for those that have maybe been here before or seen me do them in other cities is really to just check in with you. I want them to be a dialogue. I'm not coming and doing a presentation. I don't have a bunch of slides. I want it to be interactive and helpful to the extent that it is. And we can do these as frequently or as infrequently as you want. I think we've been on about a every 6-month cycle so far, and happy to continue doing that. Or if you feel like you need more or less, I'm happy to adjust. So thank you for having me. I'm happy to talk about any county topics that you want to talk about, or you want just some general updates on how the county budget is looking for this year. That's some work that we're doing now. That could be things we talk about, but happy to talk about anything.
Yeah, I guess maybe we start with some updates.
Okay.
Then we can think about some questions
Sure.
along the way.
So I think the top level story I'll give you on the budget for this year is that we went into last year in the general fund with a projected $20 million budget deficit. So we had to cut $20 million out of last year's general fund budget at the county. And this year, for a number of reasons that are many of them are just sort of one-time reasons, our deficit, again, operating from another spot where we're going to have to cut more, is in the $5 million range. So less difficult decisions maybe to make in adjusting the budget for the coming year. The passage of the public safety levy and the library levy, which I think I came and talked to the council about as well a number of months ago, certainly help with making sure that we're not going to have to cut public safety resources more or cut library more in overall. So that's kind of the high level overview, is that we're looking at a smaller deficit than last year, but there will still be significant impacts. We're at a point now where 5 or 6 years in of making substantial budget cuts every year, we're at a point where every single decision is difficult, and they're all really impacting our service to the public. So, questions or comments on that yet?
Where will the cuts come from?
Where will they come from?
Yeah,
In this coming year?
Yeah, what are they looking at?
So the budget, just like the city process, the budget officer will deliver her draft budget to the budget committee, which, just again, like the city, includes the county commission and then our lay members of the public in the first week of April. So we'll see what's being proposed at that time.
And it'll obviously come out in the media, where the cuts are going to take place.
Certainly what's proposed, and then as it gets deliberated through, certainly I expect media coverage as there was last year.
Commissioner?
Yeah.
You mentioned we've been doing this now for 6 or 7 years?
Yep.
Cut, and I know you listen to the news and the school districts are cutting and everybody's cutting. Give us a big picture view of why that is. Are people moving out of our state?
That's not what's driving the public budgeting challenges in every jurisdiction, including yours. It is much more of a function of the fact that virtually everything that we as public officials have to pay for is increasing at more than 3%, and yet property tax increases, which is what most of our revenue in local government is driven from, are limited to that, and our expenses are going up at quite a, whether it's personnel costs or, building things, neither one of those are going up at 3%. So
in your view, what's the solution?
I think there's a variety of solutions, and I'll actually talk to you briefly about one since I'm here that we're considering related to transportation and the impacts the general fund reductions have had on our transportation funding. So I'll talk about that in a moment. But I think the big picture stepping back is that as a state, we have to decide, I think, about how we want to fund public services in the long run, and whether without an income tax, and many people have said we have 2 of the 3 legs of the stool, which are, income tax, property tax, and what is the third one? Off the top of my head. Sales tax. Sorry, how could I forget sales tax? So those, if you're thinking of a 3-legged stool tax-wise, and what I heard an economist recently reference who does a lot of work in Oregon is that we kind of like to talk like we have two of those legs of the stool, when in reality, one of them is completely handcuffed in the property tax space with the 3% limitations, and that, you know, have not kept up at all with what's really happened with real property values since the mid-90s. So we really have more like 1.5 legs to the stool, and we have to figure out, I think, as a state, what we want to do about that. Like, what we're doing now is not sustainable for our public services and funding them, so we can continue to have less and less services every year, but I think that in the long run becomes a place that we all, you know, don't want to live in. So to me, that's not a viable option, and so we've got to be talking about, you know, reforms, I think, at the state level at a minimum. Councilor Tyson?
I read recently that one of the proposals would be that when one sells their property, that the assessed value could be adjusted, which it cannot be now.
That's a common, I mean, that's used in other states for sure, definitely used in California, where I'm at least familiar with that. And that's just like a reassessment at sale type of thing, or process. And that's certainly one proposal that I think, you know, could be viable in a way that at least addresses, I think there's a lot of concern about people on fixed incomes and other, you know, challenging financial situations, and that potentially addresses that by making sure that it's not going to increase more than the 3% while you own the property. Councilor Cunningham? Sorry, I don't know if the mayor's facilitating or me.
No,
but-
go for it. No,
Okay.
yeah, go for it.
Okay, I am deeply concerned about the fact that senior citizens are getting priced out of Oregon. And so I live in a community that is a senior community, the old KCCA, the old King City.
Mhm.
And it's just everything that you read, we're second in this state only to New York City. And we don't have those marvelous places to go visit from New York City. So who is watching out for those of us that live in these communities that live on fixed income, Social Security?
I think we all have to watch out for each other, and I think what's broken, so what you say is true, and at the same time, we also have the challenges with funding public system. That tells me that the overall system is broken, because people should be able to age in place in an affordable way, and we should also be able to take care of our public infrastructure and pay for the minimal services that are needed, and that's not the trajectory that's not the trajectory we're on. So I think it's a both and. I don't think it's a either or, and it tells me that the whole system is got some serious problems.
We're being priced, some of us are being, not me particular, but some of my neighbors are being priced out of their homes because their property taxes are going up, utility prices are going, everything is just skyrocketing like crazy. And it's getting harder and harder to be old in Oregon, in my opinion.
I think it's becoming harder and harder, frankly, to be in the bottom 30 to 50% of the income bracket at any age. That's another conversation I think our whole country needs to have. Like, we have a serious income distribution and wealth distribution problem that are not going to be solved by us doing tax reform in Oregon. But we've got to solve that, or I think we all know how that story ends in the next 50 to 100 years if it doesn't get solved.
Does the state, I'm sorry, I have a lot of questions.
Keep
Does
going.
the state listen to Washington County counselors and about, do you give input about what you're hearing in these meetings and about what you're hearing from your residents and your members?
We do, and we advocate particularly pretty aggressively at the legislature. We have a staff team, and then we are regularly, I mean, like in the last week, 3 of your 5 county commissioners have been in person in Salem testifying, including me, on various, I was testifying on transportation. Commissioner Treese was testifying on the Oregon Jobs Act this morning, which is that'd be an example of something that maybe could help with some of the challenges in our state economically right now. So I'll just mention that briefly. So yeah, I mean, do they listen? That's a question that's harder for me to.
The question is, do they listen and then act?
Yeah. Well, in some cases, yes. I think frankly, the way the Oregon Jobs Act's been created was really done with city and county partnership. And Metro's engaged in that conversation now too. And the city of Hillsborough has particularly led on that. But Senator Salmon is the leader in the Senate on it and is the chief sponsor of the bill.
And do you have advice about what we can do personally and individually or as a group in our community?
On what domain?
On things that are happening. Do we have to
Well,
drive down to Salem and testify?
I'm a big proponent of everybody staying engaged and involved and being part of the dialogue and discussion and participating in democracy. It's messy and it takes time, and I think the presentation on public meetings laws reminds us of some of that. But it's important, and I think our country and our state have a strong legacy and history of public involvement and public engagement and doing the work in public as required. And I would just advocate for everybody to participate in those processes.
Thank you.
On the vehicle, can I just briefly
I'm
mention
sorry,
the
yes.
transportation part?
That's what I was gonna ask about.
Oh, you were gonna ask? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yes.
So one of the things that has been challenging in the general fund is again, you've got, every year we've got less and less stuff we can buy with the general fund because costs are going up faster than the revenue. So just think of that as every year you've got to decide to do less stuff. And some of the less stuff decisions in the last few years have been, with, for example, the Major Streets Transportation Improvement Program, MSTIP. That's a program your city staff team is probably aware of, and there are projects done throughout the county that are of county significance using those funds, or in part using those funds to match other grant or funding options from various parts of state, federal, and even regional government. The amount of money that we have for that has been declining because of the factors I just described to you. So we are exploring right now and would seek input on a proposal to increase the vehicle registration fee that the county currently assesses through vehicle registrations and use that money directly to fund more, or to really provide the transportation funding that we're having to reduce. So really this is a strategy to really try to make sure we can continue making the transportation investments that we have been while we have less money each year in the general fund to do that.
Is that the bill that's set for a vote in November or maybe May?
This is actually a county-wide
Oh,
vehicle
okay.
registration fee, and if you register your vehicles in Washington County now, you're already paying that fee. It's collected by the DMV, and then it is remitted to the counties, or to the county specifically. And the other thing I should share with you about this is that this would be shared 60-40 between the cities and the county. So significant portion of that funding would be directly to the cities for transportation projects.
But that vote that I was talking about in either November or May,
That's
also going to increase registration, isn't it?
I could, depending on what happens with the vote.
Yeah, which probably will get voted down, I would bet.
That would, I would say, if I were a betting person on that, I'd be betting on it not passing or not staying as law. Councilor Arditi.
Jason, two questions. First, closer to home here, what would the county do as far as expanding the dimensions of Beef Bend Road with all the developments moving in? What's the county's position on that? Would the county widen it?
I'd have to reference our transportation system plan. I don't have that
Okay.
detail memorized. If that's something that you'd like to engage, either have your staff engage with the county staff on, or if you'd like a follow-up from me, I'm happy to
Okay.
get you that information. If I would assume that your planning staff probably know what the county TSP says about Beef Bend, but maybe not. I guess I'm looking, I don't know the King City
No one's
staff.
jumping up, no one's jumping up to talk, all right? That's how it is. Second question.
I will not speak for the county.
Clean Water Services had some turnover at the top.
Oh,
That
yeah,
affects
you
county.
noticed.
Yeah, it's pretty much news.
Do you want me to talk about
Just,
it? or what's going on?
the county position in the whole thing, right?
I'm just gonna interject before you answer to keep us on track. We got about 3 minutes left.
Okay. I'll be brief, and then hopefully if there's any final questions, we can handle those. So, the county commission serves as the board of directors for Clean Water Services. It is a separate entity. It is a county special service district is the way that it's set up, or is a county service district. Sorry, that's the legal description of it. And yes, there's been, last year, the CEO at the time resigned, and we've had an interim. We're going to be having a position be called a general manager again, which is what it had been previously. It's not going to remain with the title of CEO. That's confusing to a lot of people and not reflective of what we think the core work is. So we are in a recruitment process now. Our interim, Rick Shanley, who's been the interim general manager, has notified the board of directors that he plans to retire in the near future and is not going to be seeking the permanent role. He didn't want to do that unless he could commit to a certain number of years, and that's not in his plans. So for that reason, we've already been conducting a large national search. And frankly, Clean Water Services is really viewed as a leader nationally and internationally. So we should be able to attract some pretty great talent to
So not
lead the
internally.
organization. We haven't seen candidates yet, but I would doubt that just because I'm not sure a single one of them has applied.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't seen the applications, but I hear things, and I don't think that's even happened. So probably not.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question. Do you hold town hall meetings?
This is really my equivalent of that. I have not held individual, like, just come show up types. I did that when I was mayor of Tigard. I have not been doing that separately. That certainly, if you think that would be valuable, that's certainly feedback I can take. I've been making rounds with city councils and having those kind of engaging conversations. And then I am open to every individual in the, just like when I was mayor, everybody has my cell phone number. It's out in the public, and I meet with anyone that wants to. So you can have your own personal town hall if you want as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here,
Thank
answering
you.
all our questions.
Okay, have a good night.
Thank you, you
Bye-bye.
too. All right, we will move on to open forum. Open forum is intended to ensure the community has an opportunity to provide input for items being considered on the agenda or make suggestions for future agendas. At this time, the council will be happy to receive your comments pertaining to items on the agenda, with the exception of public hearings for which testimony will be received and conducted in the proper form and manner at the time of the hearing. Each person's time will be limited to 3 minutes. I don't see any names on open forum, but I do see for the hearing, so I just want to make sure nobody wanted to give general open forum. Do we have anybody online? Okay, if you're watching online on Zoom, could you please raise your hand if you would like to provide public comment not pertaining to the hearing? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and close open forum and move on to unfinished business. First item there is our TSP update. Max, is this you for us? Get your mic.
Thank you, Mayor. So as you are aware, the city has an open RFP at the moment that closes actually tomorrow. We've received one bid so far, the details of which I will keep under wraps until the bidding period is closed. So that's pretty much the update. I read through their proposal and it seemed pretty good, but I'll have more prepared for you next month.
Okay.
And we'll go from there.
Great, thank you. All right, next up, we've got new business. First item is ordinance O-2026-02, annexation public hearing. Let me get my script out here. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the matters before the City Council today will be dealt with as a public hearing. Scheduled public hearings are itemized on the agenda. I will identify the subject, announce when the public hearing is open, and request anyone interested to state their feelings regarding the matter being considered. Failure to raise an issue in person or by letter to the City Council precludes the raising of that issue at a subsequent time on appeal. You may also name and address any other approval criteria you think apply to this decision. If you wish to speak for, against, or comment in any way, you must sign the hearing sign-in sheet located at the entrance of the council chambers. Please identify yourself as wishing to speak when I call for testimony. When called to speak, please come forward, give your name, address, and make your statement. The maximum time allotted for testimonies shall be 3 minutes for individuals, 10 minutes for applicants and persons representing 4 or more persons, and 5 minutes for applicants' rebuttal. All right, I call to order the public hearing regarding ordinance O-2026-02, annexation at 6:57 p.m. on February 18th, 2026. Do any members of the City Council wish to abstain or recuse themselves? Okay, hearing none. Do any members of the City Council wish to report significant ex parte contact? Okay, hearing none. Does any member of the audience wish to, oh wait, never mind. We didn't do that part. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the jurisdiction of the City Council to hear this matter? Okay, hearing none. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge any individual member of the City Council? Hearing none. For all those wishing to testify, please be aware that if you fail to raise an issue in person or by letter today, precludes the raising of an issue related to those criteria on appeal. At this time, I call for the staff to present the proposal along with applicable approval standards and make a recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. So this annexation, Ronnie, I don't suppose you have that map available? No. It is the half of the Bonneville Power Administration Corridor, the western half that is not currently within the city, and also the right-of-way along 137 that goes up to that wishbone with River Lane over in Rivermead. It's approximately 13.01 acres. Basically, annexations, as I've discussed before, are more or less procedural. This is an effort put forth by the city that was kind of initiated based off of correspondence that I had with Washington County over the last couple years. The Planning Commission held a hearing last month, and after deliberation from the Planning Commission and a significant amount of opposition from members of the public, the Planning Commission voted 5-1 to recommend to the City Council to postpone annexation until the Transportation System Plan amendments are adopted and a Parks Plan is addressed. So if the City Council wants to go along with the Planning Commission's recommendation, you can direct staff to withdraw this application and we can end the hearing right now, or you can proceed through the hearing and hear public testimony and deliberate as well. I would just advise the council, if you were to postpone it or ask us to withdraw it, just to be a little bit more clear, just ask this or direct staff to withdraw it indefinitely. That way it's not contingent upon anything, and then it can be brought up again at a later date whenever a city council or planning commission wants to address it later on.
Can we move to discussion at this point on that matter? Missy?
I think that are there people signed up to talk about it? It would be
Yes.
premature to have discussion without hearing public comment.
Okay. Are we ready to move to public comment then?
Yeah, as far as the approval criteria, the city went through all the proper procedures. We got all the necessary documents from the county and from the state. And so if the council did want to approve it, there should be no problem from that regard. So that is my staff report, unless anyone has any questions.
Councilor Tyso?
Would you mind reiterating what you said about withdrawal at this point in time? And what are the ramifications?
So the basically when the city does, I also want to make one more point clear. This annexation is a type 4 legislative decision by the city council. So if we think back on last year when we had Kensington Square, that development, a developer came to the city, paid fees, went through a process, had hearings, and since it was a developer from outside the city coming to the city to apply, that was a quasi-judicial hearing, meaning that as long as they hit the criteria, the city did not have any discretionary authority to deny it. Since this is a city-led effort, the city has discretionary authority because it's a legislative decision. So if you don't like it, you can vote no. There is no criteria that, like, the city's not going to sue itself, you know. So as far as ramifications or consequences, it sets processes back potentially, but it's kind of immaterial. I don't foresee any short-term consequences legally, and again, this can be addressed at a later date, you know, if the city decides that they want to take it up at a later time.
Right. I have some.
Mayor, I have a question. May I ask a
Yes,
question? All right. Missy, you mentioned that we should have public hearing, even though we may vote later to direct staff to remove the annexation, to withdraw it.
That is correct, because we don't know what's going to happen in the vote.
Is it out of line for us to go ahead and make a motion such that we ask staff to withdraw it at this time? Since testimony has already been given at the planning commission.
That would not be proper procedure.
Okay, thank you.
The public does have the right to come and provide comment on it.
All right.
Thank you for asking.
Let's go ahead and open the public forum for this. So I do have 5 names listed here. I'm going to ask for only those of you to respond. But at this time, does any member of the audience wish to speak in favor of this application? So if you sign my sign-up sheet and you are in favor. Okay. Does any member of the audience wish to speak in opposition to this application? Okay. Dean, you want to come up and start?
3 minutes. Is it 3 minutes each? Did I
It
hear?
is 3 minutes for individuals. Yes, thank you.
Hello, I'm Dean Blair. I live in the Rivermead area. And before I start, I want to verify Missy. I'm a member of the Planning Commission. I am not representing the Planning Commission. I'm, as an individual, may I present my testimony or not? I'm good either way.
Well, because this is a legislative decision, there's no bias implications or ex parte problems. But if this was quasi-judicial, I would strongly urge you not to. But it's legislative.
But it's legislative. Okay. I don't want to ever cross the line.
All right, we'll start your timer
Okay,
now.
so I'm starting. I'm happy to see people here to testify. It reminds me that the #1 goal of the Oregon statewide planning goals is citizen involvement. Since others are testifying, I'm going to cut down a lot of the paragraphs that I have. Also save time. Kind of the theme, though, to think of is it's important for us to know where the water will flow before we open the floodgates. Okay? So parcels of land have to be contiguous to the existing King City to apply for annexation and development. Approving this annexation gives 21 different parcels totaling over 30 acres the ability to immediately request annexation and development. Like Kensington Square, as long as the development meets the existing code, King City has to approve it. Even though the Kingston Terrace Master Plan calls for parks and affordable housing options, King City cannot require any of those of these 21 potential new applications. Here's what I see as the danger. If development happens on 131st, before the council has time to finish the TSP relook, the parks plan, and implement the regional stormwater concept plan, options will be reduced or eliminated. This and additional annexation is indeed the future of King City and the future of Rivermead. Your vote today to deny this annexation does not indicate a no vote forever, just not until King City has a chance to work through the TSP outlook. I don't want King City to become the city that ends up using eminent domain to build an 8,000 car per day road through a conservation easement that it still has an obligation to protect to the maximum extent possible. And not be able to do that because we closed the door because development happened that didn't allow us to. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Janet, I saw your hand go up. Would you like to?
Can I go after?
Oh, sure. We'll just go right down. Dan? Okay. You're welcome.
Dan Brenner, 14120 Southwest River Lane in unincorporated Washington County. In regards to the proposal to annex 137 and the adjacent property of the field, I know that's what we're talking. I only want to point out what the Planning Commission voted yes on at their last meeting. As you now know, they voted to recommend postponing those annexations until the relook of the transportation system plan and the parks locations are dealt with. To me, this postponement should be the only conclusion for you, the council, to come to at this time. It's the sensible thing for you to do. As Max pointed out to the commission, Washington County has no immediate plans to improve 137th, regardless of it being annexed or not. It makes no difference to them where the jurisdiction lies. As Max stated to Commissioner Bellows, Washington County will not be under any obligation to improve 137th, regardless of the city's decisions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Dawn? Oh, sure. Are you speaking in opposition? Okay.
All right, so I'm Dawn Mobley. I live on 137th, and I am in opposition of the annexation. Max actually answered one of my questions that I had, which is in regards to why we're getting an annexation at this point when in the past developers have had to come with their plan and ask for the annexation at the same time. And in the staff report, it also had mentioned that that by doing this annexation, that would begin the improvements for 137th and the TSP project, which is noted as 18A, which is 137th from Beef Bend Road to the Fisher Corridor. That does not include West Watson Road, which is included on the map for annexation. So what I'm getting at is that we do have the TSP, and it does lay out several different projects that are listed for 137th. There's more than just 18A. What I thought was interesting is that the 18A is actually a tier 3 project, which I didn't think we were even that far along. So anyhow, but it does make a little bit more sense, Max. Thank you for explaining why we can come to and ask for an annexation now. I do still feel that King City should still follow some of the same processes that we ask developers to do if King City is going to be the developer. So within the project report, it also does state that if we do the annexation and it's accepted, that the improvements to 137th would need to be done plus the linear park, which is the West Side Trail. And I'm not sure if you all remember, but when we did the concept plan for the West Side Trail, 137th was not included. And primarily that was because we were told it was a Washington County road and it just couldn't be included. And that also didn't include the stormwater ditch along 137th either. So those two things were not addressed in the West Side Trail concept plan. And again, without having a further plan for 137th, besides what's in the TSP, it is pretty interesting to just like start adding up the millions of dollars that King City is basically saying they're going to take responsibility for when it comes to those improvements. I also found it was a little bit interesting because a lot of the projects do include other sourcing, but the one that didn't include any other sourcing, and at least from the TSP, it said that it was only going to be funded by King City, was the 18A, and that was in 2003 estimated to be $3.3 million. So I just think that
20 seconds.
having that plan would be something you would want to know what it was going to cost the city before we say yes to an annexation. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Just under 3 minutes. Way to go. Sheila?
Good evening. My name is Sheila St. Clair, and if possible, I'd like to read this on behalf of my husband, who is hearing and visually impaired. My name is Kirk St. Clair, and I've lived at 16875 Southwest 137th Avenue for about 50 years. I am a third generation out of 5 generations that have lived in this neighborhood. Up until recently, I've had a contract with Washington County's Land Use and Transportation Department as their welder, mechanic on their equipment, which includes all the roads and bridges, since the early 1980s. I have knowledge of the original construction of 137th Road and its improvements since. 137th originated as a non-base gravel road, approximately in the 1930s. It was intended only as a rural country dead-end road with very light traffic. It was never intended to be used with heavy traffic. Later, it was chip sealed with an oil product sometime in the 1960s. In the early 2000s, it had a partial overlayment with asphalt to help with existing potholes that were perpetually caused from having this non-base construction. The concern I had is the financial burden to the taxpayers of getting rid of the contaminated oil chip seal product and replacing it with an expensive base rock. This cost needs to be factored in prior to making any plans. I'm concerned that without considering this knowledge, the cart once again will proceed prior to the horse, as has been so commonly seen in many of your proposed plans. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Janet?
Hi, I'm Janet Black. I live in Rivermead. And my general comment is, it does make sense to annex 137th someday, just not today. I'm repeating like what other people have said. I just wanted to emphasize that with your highest priority of redoing or relooking at the TSP, it might interfere with that goal. So voting no would help protect your goal. And I wanted to follow Sheila because Kirk really described how the road is built, and I think it would probably increase a lot of maintenance costs for King City if you annexed it now instead of in the future. So please vote no.
Thank you, Janet. Now do we open it up online? Okay, if you're watching online and you would like to provide public comment for the annexation hearing, please raise your hand. Hearing none, at this time I would ask for a motion to either close or continue. It says close or continue the public hearing.
Oh, you can close it.
Okay, to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion on the table is to close public hearing for, well, close public hearing. Okay, roll call vote, Counselor Arditi.
I'm not sure what we're voting on.
Motion on the table is to close public hearing
Yes.
or public comment. Public hearing, public comment.
Sorry, yeah, the
What was-
public comment portion of the public hearing.
Okay. To close public comment. Okay, that's what we're voting. Why don't we remake the motion, Ms. Counselor Cunningham?
Motion to close the public comment of the public hearing portion.
And I'll second that motion.
Great, okay. Counselor Arditi?
Yes.
Counselor Cunningham?
Yes.
Counselor Tyso?
Yes.
Council President Gearhart?
Yes.
Counselor Mitchell?
Yes.
And Mayor Kazmersky, yes. Motion passes, and I declare this public hearing, it still says public hearing, public comment? Okay, public comment closed at 7:16 PM on February 18th, 2026. Great. Now we can move on to our,
Now you can move to deliberations,
okay.
or if you have further questions of staff.
Further questions, or if anybody would like to make a motion and we can move to discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. What is your motion?
I make a motion that we withdraw the application for annexation of 137th indefinitely.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, second by Counselor Mitchell. Now we will move to discussion. If you have something you would like to say, please raise your hand. Counselor Tyso?
I think that for the most part, I agree that this makes sense until we get more information. And I think some of that more information will be forthcoming once the RFP for the transportation study plan is completed. I would like to somehow entertain, and maybe this is a separate motion, that we put ourselves under some kind of time constraint, that once that this transportation system plan relook is completed, that we relook at the annexation, because at that point in time, we will truly know what is in front of us. And I would think that, you know, the drainage ditch with Clean Water Services, that also needs to be looked at. And whatever other items that could contaminate the groundwater with whatever our actions are and how much it's going to cost us. And I'm probably babbling at this point.
Counselor Cunningham?
I object to annexing 137th. I think that we haven't spent enough time. We've listened to people talk to us that have more experience than we do about how this road is made. And when I talked with our commissioner, I was concerned about the cost to the community. And do we really have the money to rebuild 137th so that we can have a dock? So I'm absolutely against this.
I'd like a quick comment. Oh,
Go ahead.
Excuse me. I've spent the last 2 or 3 days reading everything about this, and I'm really, really impressed with the job you did, Max. It's very thorough, and all your T's are crossed, your I's are dotted, and all the reference material from the county and everybody has come back, and they're very supportive. So good job.
Thank you, Councilor Gerhardt. If I may address Councilor Cunningham, just to be totally clear on the risks of annexation for this. Annexation in and of itself does not immediately mean that the city is obligated to do improvements along 137th. It's not a commitment for those improvements. But what it...
Max, hold on, please. There's a parliamentary issue going on. Right now we're in discussion. I do understand that staff comments are important, but however, it is Gary Mitchell's turn because Councilor Gearhart gave up the floor.
Okay. Even though I hadn't recognized him yet?
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're doing discussion, not back and forth yet.
Okay. Counselor Mitchell?
Thank you, Ronnie.
Well, my question was to Max.
Oh, good.
Yes, Commissioner, or yes, Counselor.
So may I ask Max the question at this time, or are we in discussion amongst ourselves?
You may ask a question, yes.
Okay. Max, what would be the driving issue or point that would say that we actually need to have it annexed? What's the decision point? Rather than just doing it when the TSP is done, what would really drive needing to do that annexation?
That's a great question. If the city does not choose to annex it wholesale, as it's been presented to you by the county, then the most likely scenario would be that it would be annexed piecemeal as development occurs along 137th. Development can still, properties on 137th, even if they're not contiguous with Kensington Square, can still develop if they were to go to the county and do a cherry stem, similar to what the Kingston Terrace Town Center operated as. But it's a little bit more cumbersome of a process to do that, and so that is a little bit prohibitive and makes it less likely. So if the city was to annex 137th, it's true, properties will have an option to annex. It'll be easier, which does increase the risk that we have more of a hodgepodge of developments along 137th. So it's going to be a decision that the council would have to make at a future date if they, depending on the way that the wind blows, would like to annex pieces of 137th as development occurs, or if the time is right, then to annex the entire road. But annexing the road, as was brought up by members of the public, does also have some financial risk in the sense that the county would request jurisdictional transfer, so then it would be transferred to the city, and the city would be responsible for maintenance. And as was brought up in the public testimony, the street itself is substandard, and we would be on the hook for maintaining it. So as I was saying to Councillor Cunningham, while we wouldn't be obligated to do full improvements, we would be obligated to at least maintain it. And the fact that the city doesn't really have a public works department at the moment, that would be questionable. So,
A follow-up, Max, is would it involve the intersection with Coiler and 137th? When we get that one solved, would that be a trigger to do the annexation at that point?
It could be, but again, the most, at least in my mind, realistic solution for that intersection is to realign 137th with Collier. Currently, there are two properties where that realignment would have to occur, and so they would either need to be willing sellers, sell to a developer, but that's also not included as a provision in the transportation system plan. So that's one of the items that I would like to see addressed in the transportation system plan amendments, because currently it calls for Peachtree to cross the power lines north of Beef Bend, hook up with Collier, and eliminate Peachtree altogether, Peachtree as it connects to Beef Bend. And it doesn't make a lot of sense, in my mind, for the city to have a key intersection in their urban growth boundary be solved by a county solution that is entirely outside of the city's control. So,
Okay, thank you, Max.
Yeah.
Okay, further questions?
Who's next?
If you have a question,
Max, annexation means property tax revenue?
Considering that it is a right-of-way and also federal government property, there would be no tax implications for this specific, the properties in question with this annexation.
So it wouldn't come to King City?
They don't pay any taxes at all because they're the federal government. They're tax exempt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who pays for the quality of the road now? Washington County?
The county goes out and does maintenance on the road periodically.
Councillor Tyso, did you have another comment?
I think I heard you say, Max, is this okay to address Max?
Yes.
Okay. That without annexing 137th, we could have more of a hodgepodge of development, and so it might be more difficult to have continuity in the overall master plan and allowing for the allowances for parks and density. I'm just asking the question, and I could be interpreting what you said incorrectly.
By hodgepodge, what I mean is, say a property owner who lives on Watson and 137th wants to develop with their neighbor, just hypothetical. They could potentially cherry stem 137th up to Beef Bend, and then they would annex that part of 137th. With Kensington Square, if you recall, when it was originally proposed, they were going to just annex their frontage along 137th. And so it would have been county, a little frontage of 137th, county again. And so by hodgepodge, I mean like if the people who live directly south of Kensington Square want to develop, they annex, then the city would just have a little square of 137th as opposed to the entire street. Now, the consequences of that are probably negligible, but that's just one little wrinkle that could potentially happen, you know. And it also kind of affects because they do have to do frontage improvements along 137th whenever they develop, if they are developing along that street.
A half street or
Half street improvements. So as it currently stands, the street improvements from Kensington Square will be on 137th. You'll go down and there'll be like, I can't remember the exact dimensions, 60 feet or whatever it is of street improvement. And then it'll go back to being 137th as it exists. So it's just going to be I think that's just going to be sort of unavoidable for a lot of different other areas.
So how do they get utilities to this area? I'm thinking electricity, water, sewer, cable, those kinds of things.
They have to do utility installation and improve the infrastructure off-site. So the Kensington Square has a sewer line that's going to be going across the BPA corridor and hook up with the sewer system north of Edgewater. And then they have a water line coming down from Beef Bend because Tigard Water has a main that goes along Beef Bend that's probably going to service most of Kingston Terrace. So it doesn't matter where they are as a contingency upon development and annexation in general. If it's a developer-driven annexation, they have to provide the city with service provider letters that show that these service providers would be able to service them. And then they have to go through the whole permitting system and get it engineered. And it's a very long process that's entirely up to whichever developer is proposing that development.
Okay, are we ready to go to vote? Okay, motion on the table is to withdraw annexation application and postpone indefinitely. Councillor Arditi.
I would not like to withdraw, I would not like to withhold this. I would like to go forward with this. So what's my vote? No?
No, yes.
I voted no.
Okay. Councillor Cunningham?
Yes.
Councillor Tyso?
I'm of two minds. I think I will end up voting yes.
Final answer?
What?
Is it yes? Is your vote yes? Okay. Council President Gearhart?
Yes.
Councillor Mitchell?
A yes vote is to withdraw.
Withdraw.
Yes.
Mayor Kazmersky, yes. Motion passes 5-1. Okay, next up we have discuss and consider our Bateman-Seidel agreement. I don't know that we have an updated agreement yet, but the purpose of this is...
I have a question.
I can speak to that if you want.
I do not know. I didn't know this was going to be on the agenda.
Okay.
And that's fine, I can speak to it. So the agreement's not ready tonight.
I think we already did. We
Which
already
one?
closed the... Well,
Oh,
did we
yeah.
properly close?
You could just say the public hearing is closed.
Public hearing is closed at 7:29
And bang your
p.m. Okay.
Okay, so there's not really an agreement that's ready tonight. There should be one ready next week, and then the mayor's signature. You can come and sign that at any time, and then we'll bring it to the council next month to finalize that.
And the goal of this is to welcome Missy as our full-time, permanent
Thank you.
city attorney.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry I didn't know about this. And the engagement letter, the engagement letter will be the same. We don't change our terms.
Okay. I just want to say, I want to express my deepest gratitude to you for ushering us through these last several months of just, huge transition
Turmoil.
and turmoil. And you've been, I mean, I can't sing your praises enough. So I'm so happy you're staying. You're the greatest thing.
Carrie and I are very happy and so happy. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Yes. So we'll be looking forward to signing that next month.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, then let's move on to the next. We've got professional auditing services RFP, evaluation of proposals and interviews.
No, I think it's you, Ron.
Ronnie, is this you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So over the last couple of months, Katie, Missy, and I have been working on the RFP. It came to a close on Friday.
Do you want to grab your?
Better.
It came to a close on Friday, and we received 4 RFPs. Unfortunately, I had to score one very low because they forgot to add a few items to the required. They were not responsive. But at this moment, I don't have anybody here to do an interview. So it was in the RFP that we were going to do an interview for today. None of them showed up. So, but it's up to you guys what you want to do.
One of the proposals we have is you can extend the RFP for 30 days. So we could send it out for another 30 days and then see if we can get people to come in for the interview too.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, I would love to chat with whoever we choose to hire for auditing services. So maybe we can encourage attendance next month.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need to move to table?
Actually, I'm going to rely on Missy on this one because the RFP was closed Friday. We received the bids. How do we move forward?
Move to extend?
I don't have an answer to that question, but I don't see a problem with extending it to the March 18th City Council meeting. Did the RFP specify a deadline by which the council would make a decision?
Yeah, today.
That is tough. Is Katie here to provide any input on? No. Well,
I can tell you what I did on my end. So I evaluated the RFPs. Polly Rogers scored at 74. Singler scored at 74. Umpqua Valley Financial 73. The cost for each one, Polly Rogers was $19,100. Sinclair was $24,650. Umpqua Valley was $39,950. Out of those 3 were all responsive. They hit every requirement needed.
So Umpqua Valley was what, 39,000?
39,950.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it started out at 35,000, then there's 2 additions that brought it up to 39,000. Or am I looking at the wrong one?
Which one are you looking at?
The second one down on your email earlier today.
Soren, I think that's the one that was, is that the one that didn't provide all the
Yeah,
information?
they're not labeled.
Hey, Ronnie, one of the proposals is we should maybe table this until next month, just because, and Missy's not prepared to speak to this yet, so it'll give us time to do a little bit of follow-up, and then we can look into the ORS to see about the extension. But I think we should bring this to next month's agenda for the city council to make a decision.
If we're allowed to do that.
Do we want to invite them to
Yeah.
do an interview at the next meeting?
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess my next question, do I need an amendment to the RFP?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
So at this point, we can just move to table to next month, and then we will deal with logistics.
We will work on that tomorrow, and we'll figure out a way to do it.
Okay. All right. Somebody like to move to table?
I'll make a motion to table
Till?
next month, the next city council meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion on the table is to table this item to next month's city council meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Is that clear enough? All right. Counselor Mitchell.
Yes.
Council President Gearhart.
Yes.
Counselor Tyso.
Yes.
Counselor Cunningham.
Yes.
Counselor Arditi.
Yes.
Mayor Kazmersky, yes. This item will be tabled to next month. All right, next we have police chief's report.
All right, thank you very much. Just a quick report. One of the first things I wanted to point out was great work by the staff, Sergeant Aragoni, PIO Aaron Carey, U.S. Bank and DHS for a very successful fraud and scam seminar that they held at Senior Village. And it was very well attended and received nothing but positive, thoughts and comments about that. So job well done by them. And as part of our ongoing thing here with King City, we're Lieutenant Sigler has been training with Washington County. We're trying to take ourselves as paperless as possible. We create a tremendous amount of paper, and you can tell by all the boxes that are stacked up everywhere by about the number of reports that we have to write. And so we're trying to take that down as much as possible and also reduce the costs of doing some business. We also, along the way, that kind of continues with what we were doing with drug and gun disposal. We just recently did the first of 2 ammunition disposals, and this ammunition has either been seized as part of a case and could be disposed of, or we actually do have a lot of ammunition that is turned in here to the office. And so we recently teamed up with Metro South out of Oregon City, and we destroyed 60 pounds of ammo, approximately, with at least another 60 to go, if not more. So there's another aspect of what we're doing. And as you're learning your new budgetary stuff and learning how to look on Cassell, you'll see there is an expenditure coming up real quick that's coming out of me on a previously budgeted Durango that's coming in. That invoice came due yesterday. And so it's down in Salem being upfit, and hopefully we'll be here sometime in the next couple weeks. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you. City manager's report.
Good evening. This is my first meeting, so thanks for having me here. And I'm just getting acclimated, and I'm learning more day by day. Staff is bringing me up to speed on city issues, and so it's been a busy few weeks that I've been in this role. But I'd like to share a few things that I've been working on. And the first thing is I want to thank staff for all their hard work. I really inherited a phenomenal team here, so thanks for everything that you guys do. One of the first things I started to do was have one-on-one meetings with staff members. There's still a few, council members. There's still a few council members that I need to have one-on-ones with. And so these will be scheduled for this week and next week. Soon I'll be reaching out to each of you to schedule regular check-ins at your convenience. So we'll try to get those emails out to you by the end of this week. To piggyback on what the chief said, I attended the fraud prevention over at the Senior Village, and like he mentioned, that was put on by King City staff, U.S. Bank, and the Department of Human Services. I also want to give thanks to Aaron and Sergeant Aragoni. That was a great presentation, and really proud of the work that they did. Another thing that I jumped in on was I started to do what I call my HOA tours. So I'm going to HOA meetings. I went to the KCCA to start. And so I attended their February meeting. I met with residents and their board. And so I plan on reaching out to all the other HOAs. We have some for Councilor Arditi and I have talked about going to Highlands, and then there's other ones that I'll reach out to as well. The purpose of this is to get exposure myself so people know that they have a voice at the city so they can contact me. I also attended the Sunday brunch at the Senior Center this past weekend and met with residents, and what an amazing experience that was. It was really enlightening, and I was met with open arms and really enjoyed spending my Sunday with them. So that was a very positive experience. There was a request to add our organizational chart to the website, and so we did so. If you look under your government tab at the top of the webpage, you'll see now our organizational chart. So that'll be able for folks to be able to access. One of the things I wanted to touch that you don't see on the agenda tonight is our supplemental budget. And so we're currently working on the supplemental budget with our finance team. This will be presented at next month's meeting. But there's one thing I wanted to note with that, and Commissioner Snyder kind of hinted to this tonight at his presentation. We're in a tight fiscal year. And so I just want us to be cognizant about any additional expenses for the remainder of the year that we currently haven't had budgeted. This will be presented next month. You'll see the supplemental budget that we will present, but I'll be closely monitoring the budget between now and the end of June. And then we'll be working here pretty much now, starting on the fiscal 27 budget. So we'll be starting that process as well. There were some legislative updates. So the League of Oregon Cities, there'll be 3 that I'll be discussing. The first is Oregon Senate Bill 1585. This aims to set a maximum matching fund requirement for state grants to small incorporated cities such as ours for certain capital construction and municipal infrastructure improvements. For our current population size, this would max our match limit to 7%. So we'll keep you updated on what the outcome of that is. There's Oregon House Bill 4161. This updates Oregon ethics law to allow public bodies to provide limited items to public officials and employees without violating financial gain prohibitions tied to the use of their position. This is in the House, so we'll give you again an update on that as we hear more. We have LOC updates on Fridays, so as the more I learn, the more I'll report out on that. There is House Bill 4108, which requires cities to annex certain non-contiguous properties with all property owners petition and that the property meets 4 state-defined criteria. This is that a city must annex the property if it's inside the urban growth boundary, is planned for residential or mixed use, not heavy industrial, is already connected to city utilities, water, sewer, and electric, and has access to public road. So those will be, like I said, the more that we learn about those, the more that you'll be informed. Wanted to touch real quick on strategic planning. Before I started, I believe there was some conversation about goal settings. And so we talked to our League of Oregon Cities consultants. And what we've decided to do is cancel our March 6th goal setting because we believed it'd be more beneficial for the council to work on a strategic plan. So we're going to start working on a strategic plan that'll incorporate then goal settings following that. So an email was sent earlier this afternoon to council members, and so please be on the lookout of that to sign up for a 2-day session. You can follow the link there to see the day that works best for you. These will be 2 full days, 8-hour days, so just plan for those. And now I get on to my lengthy discussion. I'm going to go over real quick our charter review. So bear with me as I go through. There's a few items I wanted to touch, and then at the end I'll be seeking your guidance as a council on some of these. So on February 4th, 2026, the council had a charter review session following the Charter Review Committee's recommendations. So I'd like to share a few takeaways from that discussion. We've consulted with our city attorney regarding the volume of questions that were raised, and based on the scope and the estimated cost to fully research and respond to these, this could range anywhere from about $8,000 to $10,000, depending on how it's about maybe an hour per question, and so there's about 24 questions. Some of those could go longer than an hour. So our current council is willing to take this on. However, depending on the complexity of this, it may be more cost efficient if we engage either an election law or charter specialist from another firm. And then we're also looking into the state elections office to see if they offer any free review service as well. During that meeting, council also directed staff to explore polling of residents to determine whether the mayor should be elected or should be an appointed position. And so I wanted to go over a few things with you and then some costs that are associated with some of these. And so just to be candid, that meeting was my 3rd day as city manager, and there's been an opportunity for me to dig more deeply into this. And so there's several ways that we could solicit community input, but I wanted to walk through each potential cost and considerations associated with each of these options. The first is we could conduct a standard outreach effort, which is similar to what you folks have seen. And this is providing a survey link, distributing paper flyers to HOAs, and posting information in public areas throughout King City. This would represent a minimal cost to the city and primarily involve minimal staff time. Another option would be that we could look at doing a citywide mailer to all residents. The estimated cost, which is based on previous efforts of similar that we have done, would be about $7,000 to $10,000. The reason for that price includes the printing, the postage, the staff time for processing, and then potential legal review. So the next is we could publish a notice information in a legal publication. This would have to be Pamplin or the Oregonian regarding public testimony once the charter amendment has been approved by council. We would also seek Tigard Life, but since they're not a legal publication, we would need to use one of the other outlets mentioned. There's two primary considerations here, timeline and cost. The charter would need to be amended with sufficient time to meet publication requirements and allow for public comment and to ratify the amendment before the adoption deadlines. Publication costs could range anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000. And this kind of puts staff on a tight timeline, especially with when Ronnie would need this back, the information, so that he needs it back by, is it August, Ronnie, for the adoption, or July? August would need to be when it's finalized, but July is when you need it to get all the ducks in a row? Okay. And then finally, council could choose to defer this discussion until 2031, which aligns with the next census cycle. That timing may provide more updated demographic data and a broader base of residents to survey. We can incorporate this into the city's strategic plan as a future goal and allow additional time for a potential advisory vote. I'd like to point out that much of these efforts are not budgeted in the fiscal 26 budget. And so we would need to potentially reduce expenses related to other services to fulfill these requests. And so this means a potential reduction in service. I can't really speak to that today, but I can tell you, looking at the supplemental budget is tight right now. And so anything that we add that hasn't been budgeted means that we'd have to make an adjustment somewhere else. So like I mentioned earlier, this will become more apparent during our supplemental budget during next month's discussion. So before staff proceeds any further, I'd like a little clarification on council's desired direction. And so I'll pose three options here. Does council wish to have staff incur the legal research costs now? What level of outreach are you comfortable with us funding? And what timeline are you expecting for this effort? And so we can start with the first one. Do we want to incur legal research costs now? And like I kind of will give a little recap, there's the options of looking to see if the state has any resources to give to us for free. We can go with Missy, and there's a cost associated with that. Or we could go with an outside firm or specialist to see somebody that maybe be able to answer these in maybe a more timely fashion at more of a reduced cost.
Is another option postpone until 2031?
That is one of the options that I have, is to postpone this discussion until 2031.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Absolutely.
To postpone, not postponing the entire charter amendment, just the elected mayor portion of it.
Correct. I should have been more specific on that. For the charter will still move ahead as planned. This is just the polling option if the mayor should be elected or should be an appointed position.
So at this point, we're just trying to decide if we want to incur the legal fees to see if the elected mayor.
So that piece is separate. The first is during the charter review, we had a number of questions that came up.
That's what I thought you were referring to.
So there's about 24 of those that came up that Missy and I have been discussing. And so some of those are going to take some time to go through, and then that's where the cost is going to be assumed for those. So that's separate from the poll. So that alone will be a cost incurred. We are looking at the state to see if they do have any type of free service to do a review, or we could go to a third party.
So in my opinion, and I'll let you all give yours as well, we want to move forward with our charter amendments. So we do need these questions answered. We want to obviously keep in mind the budgetary concerns. It would be great if Secretary of State's office has something that they can provide us for free. So I think that's worth looking into. And then outside of that, I know Missy, you and I have had a conversation about it would take a lot less time for an election attorney to be able to answer these questions. So I would be of the opinion that we engage a third party attorney to help minimize the cost outside of what we might be able to get for free.
I'm not totally sure that we'll be able to find someone, so I do have another kind of clarifying proposal. The questions, and kudos to all of you, because you're high functioning thinkers here. These are not easy legal questions. So But I would like to group these 24 questions into questions that are directly related to moving the charter amendments forward to the ballot. Segregate those, perhaps, I can answer those, and then kind of have a different category of things that are sort of hypothetical and perhaps would just be advisory. And what happens is a lot of these questions are sort of like if A then B, if A then C. And so those are more difficult to answer with any certainty, with the certainty that I think the council would want, because they're very fact specific. So I might suggest tabling those questions until you actually have to confront them.
Do you know about how many questions came up that would be need to be addressed?
It seems like there are 5 or 6. Like question 15, for example, is one question, but then there's 6 sub-questions. So that's why I was saying it struck me a little bit like a question vending machine where you guys were like, I choose A2, and then the question dropped down. But it wasn't a candy bar.
So what is your time estimate for those 5 or 6 questions versus?
I mean, I can try to do my best to kind of to move this project forward, but just keeping our eye on the ball that the project is charter review, and that questions that are really non-essential to moving the charter amendments forward, we can spread those out perhaps into the next fiscal year if they're not necessary. And then I can pull out the ones that I think are just, there are some questions that are sort of interesting, but maybe they're not really necessarily city business, but they're perhaps like a counselor's wondering like what would happen in this circumstance, which is not technically really something that the city needs to spend money answering, because it's more of like a question personal to a counselor.
Okay.
So just kind of keeping the legal fees in mind, which I like to do and remind you of all the time.
So those 5 or 6 questions, do you think that you would be able to spend time answering those, or should we still engage someone else to do it more?
If you could let me take a stab at answering those while also checking with the Secretary of State's, election division and seeing if we can get some help. I do want to say that the League of Cities spent a lot of time and their own resources putting out the model charter that this is based on, and so I do have a lot of faith in them that they have run provisions through a legal pipeline, and that I think we can feel confident in their provisions.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the goal, which is to spend a little bit of money getting you all comfortable, but understanding that the League of Cities also spent time and legal resources on the model.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is the League of Oregon Cities a resource to run this through one more time?
Another possible resource, right?
After you kind of look at these 5 or 6 questions and say, does this look like it meets muster all the way down? So because we will be the ambassadors to go out and sell this to the public.
Yes.
Or maybe they have already run across these questions and
Right.
might be able to provide insights as well.
Yeah. So I think my proposal would be that I would keep the city manager really in the loop, like I kept the interim city manager really in the loop on my fees and when they're getting, approaching benchmarks, and then we can decide, how much farther to go.
Okay. Is this something that we should make a motion for, or just a general consensus?
I think the city manager is just looking for guidance, a sense of the council.
Yeah, I would say right now, just looking for guidance.
Councilor Cunningham?
I have a question. I'm a little bit confused about what we're
I think
doing.
your mic's not on. Click the red button down one more time. There you go. And then just speak into it. You don't need to push anything else.
I have a question about whether or not this whole conversation involved the mayor being elected by about the mayor being elected by the residents or appointed by the council.
So
is that separate?
That's separate. That's my fault for not being clear. This is just about the legal costs. So when we went through the charter review, there was a number of questions that were asked. This is about just the guidance of how do you want to move forward with that. And so if Missy can look at those questions and then keep me in the loop, and then it sounds like pushing this through to LOC for another final review.
Do we have to make a decision or give you guidance on that particular piece tonight?
I would say the sooner the better, just because we're under a timeline to get this to the ballot, and Ronnie's going to need this, you know, by that June deadline, and we're just encroaching on that. Then there's a lot of work that needs to be done. You folks still have to meet again to finalize and adopt it.
Yeah.
So it's, I would say it's just starting to get a little bit more in the crunch time. That the sooner the better.
I would be a proponent of letting Missy look at the 5 or 6 questions, limit the cost, see what we can get from LOC and SOS.
Yeah, so the 3 options out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the least expensive, and then
Yeah,
the other question, yeah, hopefully LOC can give us guidance maybe on the other.
and that would be something you would do, Vinny, as Secretary of State and LOC.
Yeah, I'm already working, Ronnie and I will work on that, of reaching out to the Secretary of State to see if there's an option for them to do that. I know they do have limited staffing, but we'll try our best to reach out and see if they do have any resources to give.
I bet the LOC would be the best one. Because they've done this stuff many times before, I'm sure.
Yes, and that might come at a cost. So we'll always go the free path first, and then we can go down that road. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, does it sound like we have general consensus to move forward with that? Just a quick.
Just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Why is it we need to go to the citizens to find out whether they're in favor of voting for mayor versus mayor being appointed? That's
That's the next topic. So
That's the next one?
yeah,
Okay.
just to get our questions
All right.
answered. So we good with? Okay, so now let's move on to the elected mayor portion, which I think was all the
Yeah.
other values that the 7,000 to 10,000 for mailers or standard outreach, surveys. My concern with that, I guess, is that we typically get a lot of.
Well, and I'd watch
A lot
out
of
for, one of the
feedback
things I
from
would
that.
say too is survey fatigue. That's one thing we need to
Yeah.
watch out for. I know there's been a lot of surveys, things that have been done before I've taken this role. But just putting that in your ear, the thing is that the reason why, counselor, is this was given direction to me during the meeting. And so I just wanted to follow up and give you options and kind of the impact to each of those options. And then I'm just looking for guidance on what direction you'd like me to direct staff, or you and your colleagues to direct staff, that then we can move forward with whatever option that you folks choose.
So options on the table, we've got our standard outreach, we've got the mailer to all residents, 7 to 10K. We've got publish in a publication, potentially 1,500 to 3K, but there's a timeline consideration. And then postpone until the census. And I think we did discuss kind of all those in the work session, but I'll open it up now for any comment on any of those.
And the postponement was just to make the determination whether the mayor would be elected or not. It was
So-
just that issue. Wasn't it?
Yeah, so that discussion was keep it as is for now until until 2031, when we would have development built out, more
Far
community
more people,
members. We would have the data from the census, and then at that point we would be doing part of our work session for those that may not have watched it. Part of the charter review is one of the items that we would want to add is reviewing the charter after each census. So that would give us, or sooner, but at least with each census when we have new data. So since the next one is 2030, 2031 would be our next charter review. And that would be the time where, we do have more community members and might be able to address this more fully. So that was the thought process at the work session. But again, let's open it back up for discussion, because I know there was.
No, Gary just asked a question, why would we want the citizens to vote?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we? I don't get it. I'm lost. Why wouldn't we want anybody to vote for mayor? I don't understand that at all. Gary, you have a reason for that?
The current process is that the council appoints the mayor, and that seems to have worked well. And the reason that I would be concerned about it is that it could potentially eliminate candidates who could be good counselors. If you have 2 running for mayor, one gets elected, it's a possibility that that second person who didn't get elected would have made a very good counselor. So that's my concern.
Just to piggyback off that, did you have something you?
No, that's a good point, but there's 6 other counselors, so even if one person doesn't make it, being a mayor is a commitment. And maybe we don't want to have a mayor be 4 years, because we've gone through 4 mayors in 2 years. Okay, it's easy to become mayor in this situation because we just have 4 people or 3 people appoint one. That doesn't represent the citizenry, and especially doesn't represent all the new people that are moving in. And there's going to be more people moving in than 5 years from now. 2 years from now, that development's going to be built out.
Well, we do have 3 open seats this year, and a new
4
mayor,
open
and a new
seats.
mayor will be appointed again in January. So I would argue that it does still represent what the citizens vote for, because the citizens vote for the 7 of us, and so that does represent the community. My concern, I share the concern of Councillor Mitchell that if there are more than one great candidate running for mayor, 1 or 2 or 3 don't get elected, they don't qualify to be on council because that's not what they ran for. The opposite side of that for me is, what if we only have 1 person run for mayor? The community then doesn't really have a decision, right? Like, it's kind of like, well, that's the only candidate.
Win by default.
Right, that's the only candidate we have. So I think there still is 2 sides of it. So anyway, that was my take.
May I comment?
Yes, please.
So the people that I talked to, many of them said they don't want change just for the sake of change. They want to make sure that we as a council maintain the city of King City, maintain its what's the word, lifestyle, its uniqueness compared to other cities. And so they're worried about change just because we want to change something. If something's been working for, 60 years now, why change it today? Why not wait until 5 more years? It'll be here before you know it.
Councillor Cunningham? Looks like you got something.
I agree with that. I think we should defer until after the next census.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so perhaps change has to happen incrementally, which would mean that we revisit electing the mayor directly. By then, there will be enough more population that may cause us to say being the mayor of this town is a 3/4 job, in which case somebody has got to want to devote that many hours to helping run the city, and they should be paid accordingly. And that should be,
Yeah.
So to me, there were a lot of inconsistencies that were in the original charter versus how we operate today. And so I think those inconsistencies need to be addressed post haste, because it has caused us to spend an awful lot of money on legal fees and caused a lot of hard feelings among citizens. And so, to me, the greater good is to take care of the biggest issues first.
Just, for transparency and those that maybe didn't watch the work session, my other just thought process going into this is, I think it's important to have a new mayor every 2 years, honestly, because I think it just brings a different viewpoint and a different perspective and a different, flow to the city, and, not getting stuck in one way, for 4 years. So I personally appreciate that every 2 year, we appoint amongst ourselves every 2 years. So I, at this point, appreciate the way that it works with our small town and with the limited number of applicants we get for council anyway. But and I agree that, that's not to say this won't change in 5 years after at the next charter review, when it maybe makes sense to move to an elected mayor. But I agree that for now.
When does this charter review go into effect? 27?
Yeah, correct.
And when could the mayor be voted? 28?
If we chose to add that
Okay.
to it. Otherwise, it would be, I guess, 31 would be the review, and then the vote for that would be, so 32 would be when they would be voted.
Which is a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, that's probably about how long we're gonna have to finish developing King City and have all of our community members, and things will look very different. You're right, in, you know.
In 3 years, things are gonna look very different.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is about the time we could vote.
So do we
Just what
need
I'm
to make a
saying.
motion here now, or do we need to help Benny guide?
Does there need to be, I'm just looking for guidance, and so I kind of figure, I'm guessing there would need to be a majority.
No formal motion.
No formal motion, so, no, I'm just looking for
Not on
guidance
that
and on
one
what.
issue.
I'm sorry?
Just on the one issue, we couldn't make a motion?
No, because so much, many of the questions, the legal questions that came up were related to the if the charter amendments do move to the elected mayor, what would be the, these questions? There's 5 or 6 that are just related to that. So if the sense of the council is that those won't be included in the proposed charter amendments that go to the voters in November, then that knocks out a lot of the legal questions, and also knocks out the need at this time to pay for some method of survey, right?
Yeah.
And then I just want to also point out that the council is free to refer charter amendments to the voters at any time. And a great example is this weird anti-light rail provision that's still in the charter, which I think came in
That was during the orange line when they wanted to
yeah,
push
during the
that
orange
down.
line,
Yeah.
right? And so there it is still right in there in section 8.01 of the charter, just hanging out there. So it is possible to revisit this discussion, but I think, as Councilor Tyso said, sort of get the best package, the most comprehensive package to the voters that the council does agree on generally, and then think about that at a later time.
And I just want to clarify too that there is an option that doesn't have as much as a monetary component. So there is the one that's like the standard polling that we currently do. So just to clarify that piece.
And I think Missy made a great point too. The provision that we were going to put in the charter is to do a charter review with each census, or sooner if needed. So to Vince's point, yes, in 2027, if things are, or in 2028, if we're looking like, you know what, maybe we do need an elected mayor, there's nothing stopping us from putting it back out to the voters, right?
I guess.
Yeah. I would opt for postponing this to a later date, to 2031, or whenever the next council decides it's worth revisiting. Right, we're not doing a motion, just general, if we got a head nod, yes or no.
I agree.
Agreed.
I have a question, if I may. Part of this is we are going to need to put this charter review in the voters pamphlet for November, correct?
Yes. That's part of the reason why we're under a deadline, is for Ronnie to be able to get that all in order. And so that's why we have to have it adopted in that July date.
Sure. And then that particular document is a good marketing tool, if you may, for us and our explanation of why we would be a more solidly run city with citizen input by having the charter rewritten.
I would stay impartial to that comment, but it could be viewed as that, yes. My view is I'm an impartial party, so I'm looking for direction from the council of how I would implement policy to staff. I'm not in one way or the other in terms of a political document, but it's more of just looking at how I can get direction from you so that I can implement staff to be able to find an outcome, positive outcome for whatever direction that you're giving me, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I know so I'm just going to say it and then we're going to defer on that issue. So then that means we will then cut out some of those legal questions. One more, I know I'm sucking up a lot of time here, and I apologize, so you can blame me on my being new. There was a question that Councilor Arditi brought up that had to do with the Beef Bend expansion. And so I wanted to also pose that question, do you want staff to look into the possible expansion of Beef Bend Road?
Is that not something we've already kind of been exploring as part of this?
I mean, I could look into the county's TSP and tell you what it says.
We know what it says.
Yeah.
We already know that.
Yeah, it says that they're not going to expand it.
And that was just, I just wanted to follow up to make sure that your question was
I just wanted
answered,
to put
so
Jason Snyder on the spot to ask him that question.
no worries.
We
So
go back a
I wanted to make sure you know you're not neglected.
Yeah, we go back a long way, so I just wanted to see what he had to say.
Well, that's all I have for the manager's report. Are there any questions of me besides what you folks have already asked? Is there anything that you're looking for specifically in a manager's report? I guess I'll ask that to you as a group. We can also talk about that in our one-on-ones, but I figure since I have you all here, I'll ask that now.
My opinion is that was very thorough, and I want to also express my gratitude to you over the last couple weeks. You have hit the ground running, learned a lot, drinking from a fire hose, but doing it with a lot of kindness and grace and fervor. So I very much appreciate you being here and looking forward to what's ahead. So
I second that.
Heard that.
Oh, thank you very much.
yeah. All right. Staff reports. Who's up first? Max? Oh, yeah.
Sure. I don't have too much to report. The work for preliminary work down at the park for the forest trail has begun. So we're starting to receive invoices from Consor Engineering for doing like preliminary surveying and things like that. So that's exciting that project's starting to get going. I went down to the town center yesterday with the city engineer to do some inspections. All the frontage for phase 1, for the most part, the sidewalks are done along Beef Bend and Roy Rogers. They still have some work to do with that intersection. I think they have to put in a new street light, and then there's some more paving that needs to be done. And then we are anticipating receiving another 80 or so building permits sometime in the next month or two for 80 more homes that are going in. So they're putting them up pretty quick. If you haven't gone down to the site, it's actually starting to look like a neighborhood. There's a little park down there, so it's kind of cool. Yeah. So
Can I jump on that? Sorry, one sec. So that's something you will all be getting an email from. The one counselor and I are going to be going down there on Thursday. And then if you want to have a tour, I'm going to open that up to each of you. So just be open for an email here coming soon to do a tour down at there at the terrace. Sorry, Max. I just wanted to make sure that they know that.
No problem, Vincent. Other than that, as far as like future prospects, I haven't had any pre-application meetings. There was some discussion of development over on Randall's property, the Randall Bike Shop along 99, but the last time I spoke to the developer, they were less than optimistic about moving forward with that. And yeah, so I'll just keep you updated as things come along.
Councilor Cunningham, did you have a question?
I'll skip.
Okay. Councilor Mitchell?
Yes. Max, thanks for your report. I'm looking at a couple of the bullet items on your report. Just a couple of questions about, you said you had discussions with CWS regarding the South Bull Mountain Management Plan. Are you referring to the stormwater plan, or what is that referring to?
Yes, I was referring to that meeting that Councilor Arditi and Ronnie and I attended.
Did that include how to implement it?
Well, the implementation will come as development occurs, is how I understand it to happen. So it's meant to be if a developer builds a development and say it's near one of the ravines on Bull Mountain, then they have to follow those the management plan's construction standards and guidelines that have been updated. The city doesn't implement it other than referring to it, because Clean Water Services does their own review, design, that they have their whole permitting system that's outside of the city's scope. So based upon my conversations with Clean Water Services, they basically said it would be redundant for the city to to implement it because it's already implemented by Clean Water Services, if that makes sense.
So it's not going to require a community development code revision to implement it?
I don't believe so. We could refer to it, but it's already being referred. We already have in our code that whatever developer has to go through the Clean Water Services permitting process.
Okay. Another question, if I might. You mentioned in one of your bulletins or your bullets that you discussed with Metro utilization of roughly 417,000 of local share program monies. Could you explain that? What is that, 417,000?
So, and Vincent was on this meeting with me as well, so if I miss anything, feel free to chime in. But Metro had a bond measure a number of years ago that essentially had a bucket of money that they allocated to every city based upon the city's population. And that bucket of money needs to be allocated, or we need to go to Metro and tell them what we're going to spend it on by the end of the fiscal year. And it can be used for capital projects. I think it's mostly transportation infrastructure, but that also means things like sidewalks. It can also be used for matching grants. So Vincent and I and the city council, once you guys go into your strategic planning, we'll have to potentially discuss the best ways to utilize that money so that we can tell Metro what we're going to use it for, so that they can, then after we tell them, hey, we're going to use X amount for this and X amount for this and X amount for this, and then we have 10 years to spend that money. So it's free money from Metro that they give to every city, and our share was 417,000.
We want to make sure that we have a plan in place, so we'll bring some options after we go through the strategic planning process. So then that way we can make sure that we're looking at our capital investments and that money's going to be used well, and that it's the least expense to the city in terms of what our investment is. There's the match component. Then in the capital expenditure, there could be other things outside of the preliminary design. And so we'll go over that more during the strategic process and bring that to you, to each of you.
Just one more, if I might.
By all means.
The Metro funding that we acquired for the trail along the river down and to try to fix the erosion problem, what was the amount of that grant, do you recall?
407,000.
Okay.
And that was a Nature and Neighborhoods grant.
Right.
Which
and
is
that
separate.
is in progress?
Yes.
And do you have any estimate on how much of the erosion problem that would be able to fix?
I do not have an estimate for that, no.
But there is an effort going on to estimate what the cost of that would be.
We could ask the Consor to look into that. We'd have to spend some money for them to come up with a scope and a cost estimate for total erosion control. Because as I've mentioned before, the bridge project is just going to be a partial fix. So I don't know what the actual cost estimate would be, but I would imagine it would be pretty sizable.
One suggestion, Counselor, would be after we go through the strategic planning process, we'll do goal setting. And this might be something to look at either in 27 or future year, just so that it's budgeted, so that we can plan for that. Because the one thing that I want to make sure is that we don't start outpacing our revenues. And just like the commissioner explained, expenditures are going up, and this will just add to the expenditures, which then means that we would then be in a deficit. And so those are just things to be cognizant of, that if we do this, let's plan it, and then let's look to make sure that this is in the budget.
Okay, thank you.
I also have one more thing. Oh, go ahead, Councilor Tyson.
I lost my thought, sorry. You mentioned the property where the bicycle shop was. What is that zoned for, and what kind of development was possible?
It's currently zoned limited commercial, same as the plaza and the rest of most of the frontage along 99. It's part of, the city actually did a master plan for the town center about 10 years ago or so. And as part of that master plan, it also implemented a comprehensive plan amendment. And that comprehensive plan, it's called the King City Town Center comprehensive plan portion. Basically says that commercial and multifamily, meaning apartments, and townhomes are allowed in the town center area. But townhomes are not allowed in limited commercial zones. So any development that occurs at Randall's bike shop property would need to go through a rezoning. So they would have to come to the city, request a rezoning to rezone to townhomes or single family or something. And then the only thing that they would be able to build residentially would be either an apartment building or townhomes, just because the townhomes specifically were pointed out in that comprehensive plan. But currently, the only residential properties or the only residential buildings that could be put in the limited commercial are apartments. So that was what I was kind of talking to the developer about was, if this is what they really wanted to do, this is how they would have to do it. They'd have to do a rezoning, and they could only build townhomes.
Okay.
I'll try to make it quick. A number of us have driven down to the development. If you go west on Beef Bend and then take a right at the first opening, and go down to that intersection and then attempt to make off Beef Bend, you take a left. Then you take a right and make an attempt to go down that road that's very narrow, and it has some tall black posts on the corners. I seem to think it might be a problem for a fire truck to make it around that corner, especially if somebody was parked on the inside of that corner.
So I went to the city engineer as this concern was brought to me across my desk and requested what the design standards were for that specific corner and whether or not TVF&R had already signed off on it. And he sent over a supplemental memo along with some diagrams. TVF&R has a map that they've shown that shows that their trucks can get around all of those corners. The turn radius is, I believe, 21 degrees, and the minimum turn radius allowed is 15 degrees. That's based off of like universal standards. And the width of that intersection, because it has bulb outs, right?
Yeah.
Is 21 feet, and the minimum for a neighborhood street is 20 feet. The reason why those bulb outs are there is to serve as a traffic control to force people to go very slow, because once that gets built out, that intersection is going to be a very high pedestrian area. The road leading down, when you're going down towards Al's, the River Terrace, is going to be flanked with apartment buildings, and then those bollards are actually going to be the edges of some walking plazas with some commercial space on the south side. So it's going to be a pretty high pedestrian traffic, low car speed area. So that was the reasoning for having it kind of be constricted at that specific spot.
I'll send out that memo and the reasoning to council. So we received that, so I'll make sure that each of you have that too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions?
One more from me, if I may. You mentioned that you had a meeting with the developer on concepts, density, and design requirements for the mixed-use building at the corner of 131st and Fisher. I believe that's called the Suma Village, is that right?
Correct.
Right. And so that's for the next phase of the development that would be a mixed-use, commercial, residential above type of a complex.
Correct. Yeah, it's where that grass and they put some picnic benches down there. So that's where the space would be. The early concepts that I've seen is a 2-story building with space for either a coffee shop or something like that, and then up to, I believe, 10 or 11 apartments. So it wouldn't be particularly, it's not going to be huge, it's not going to be a high rise or anything. They want it to kind of match what the townhomes look like.
My question is, what are the next steps? Will there be community outreach on what their proposal is? Will there be hearings? Will there be anything that engages the public about what's being proposed?
Yeah,
so with the city?
They will have to go through the development process. Right now, I've spoken with their architect, so they're coming up with their initial designs and trying to make their density work with what is allowed in that specific zone. And so they'd have to have a community meeting, go to the planning commission for public hearing, go to all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilor Cunningham, did you have one more question before we move on? Okay, let's move on to building staff report.
I just have one
Oh,
last thing. and
sorry.
I'm not sure if the council has already done this or if Ronnie's already done this, but just a reminder that with the ascension of Councilor Mitchell, the Planning Commission has one open seat.
My ascension.
I like that.
I thought you'd like that one.
Yeah, is that being advertised?
I haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay. All right, building staff report.
I don't think there are any building people here.
Okay.
It's pretty much.
It's ongoing. I met with Brian Blaylock, who is the building inspector over at Claire Company, again yesterday in that meeting, and he's just chugging along doing his inspections. We did lose our in-house inspector, Brent. Not in-house, but he was the one that would come consistently. So, goodbye, Brent. I'll miss you. Sorry.
Engineer staff memo. Anybody speaking to that? Okay. I don't know if this is the time to address this, but did you want to give an update on our open office space?
Let me wait till next month,
Okay.
just so that I have all my information correct.
Sounds good. Let's move on to mayors and councilors reports. Let's start with
Aaron.
Oh, yeah, Aaron.
Oh, I almost got away with it. Listen, there's no attachment, so I was moving on. Yeah, sorry, Aaron.
No, you're totally fine, totally fine. I will do my best to be expeditious. Newsletter update. So the Q1 newsletter is finalized. We're just waiting to send this over to our printer and get that printed and mailed out. As for Q2, I'm already working on it. So if any counselors or the mayor would like to contribute some more work on that, as well as Vinny or Vincent or anyone else, I'm happy to oblige. Planner, recorder, everyone is welcome to submit information for that. So Councilor Arditi and myself met with Megan DeSalvo from the Tiger Chamber of Commerce. They are the ones that run their farmers market. It was a really productive conversation. They were really interested in having us as a satellite farmers market. She did go to her chamber. They did approve it, and in making King City an extension or partner of their farmers market. What this means is we would be a satellite market. We can use their resources, including their market manager, their access to the food stamp system, which is because it's a federally funded program. It's a really extensive process to do all by yourself, which is often why you see a lot of farmers markets tend not to make it. Is if they don't, have assistance from an established market. Their tentative deadline, it comes up really fast. They would want all of this set in place by May, which is really, really quick. And then that would to run through September. And then we also discussed potential locations of maybe the parking lot of Al's Garden Center or the King City Plaza. Again, those are like very tentative parts of that conversation. I know that like budgeting concerns and things like that. But I will say that it was a very productive conversation, and whether we do it this year or next year or whatever fiscal year we feel that we're able to do it, they are very interested in partnering with us and would be very happy to let us use their resources. I know you've heard it multiple times already. The fraud scam event went wonderfully. I just wanted to say a big thank you to our partners at DHS and US Bank for their expertise and support. An additional thank you to Steve and Sandy for showing up and being part of it, as well as Vincent. It was a great first kind of event for him to come to and meet everybody, and they gave him a good amount of ribbing as well too, so that was nice. And a big shout out to the King City Senior Village for letting us use that location. They're wonderful staff and they're wonderful amenities, so that was very nice. And a big shout out to Sergeant Aragoni for all of her work on this. Admittedly, I did not do a whole ton with this. It was all Sergeant Aragoni, and I just helped where I could. And then I am happy to say that we are trying to tentatively plan another one in the fall. So we'll keep you guys apprised when that starts to happen. And then my final is the survey update for our services and amenities. And I have a really cool PowerPoint for you that I will try my best to work through very quickly. Some information about this as of today. We have 138 responses, so it is the same sampling size as we got from the previous survey. So it's not as extensive. And I will obviously email the council the Excel sheet of the results and the presentation as well. So this is just general background. Wanted to gauge the types of amenities and services citizens would be interested in for the future. Topics including post office, pool, farmers market, parks, emergency services. Again, parks and trails consistently ranked very high. Farmers market was of high interest. Library and pool ranked relatively low, obviously, with being cost prohibitive to make those, and because we have so many resources through Washington County and Tigard very specifically. So strategies with social media, we made sure to really push this out on social media. We did email this link to anybody that is in our email blast system, and we did send a direct email to the HOAs and to the council as well, so that you guys could gauge that through your HOAs as well. I won't run through all these. There was 11 questions. We tried to make it as extensive as possible. And then, so this is the results of the post office. General consensus is people just want a place to pick up and drop off their mail. They want passport services, which we already offer here. So, and then a very big part of it was stamps. People want to buy stamps. And then public pool, like I said, people mostly said that they have access to a HOA pool, or they don't really want access or have no concern for a pool. So library, most people use a nearby city's library. Farmers market, like I said, most people were very interested. They would attend probably 1 to 2 times a month, and Saturday being the highest selected day that they would like to attend. Most used city services, the walking spaces and trails, as well as like a farmer's market, were the things that were selected the most. Ranking of importance in terms of where they'd like to see the city invest their time and energy. One of the highest was community facilities, the post office, library, pool, maybe a recreation center, whatever is selected. Parks and recreation came in very high. People want trails, dog parks, natural spaces. They want that prioritized. Events and programming, say a farmer's market, our parades, maybe some movies in the park was a big one that people maybe mentioned. Public safety obviously came in very high, and streets and infrastructure ranked kind of low, but there's a lot of stuff. So I won't read it all, of course, but this is a general idea of this is what ranks the most mentioned theme, because there was an open forum question of, what your additional comments, would you like to see? So this was the biggest one. More dog parks, more pickleball, more access to natural spaces. They value nature and outdoor recreation, want river access, trail connectivity, were repeated requests. Second to that was recreation center. Interest exists, but cost sensitivity is very high. Transportation and safety, infrastructure maintenance appear to be a top priority, especially traffic management and pedestrian safety. Transparency and governance, this is still a very big topic that people mentioned. There's a noticeable concern about trust, communication, and clarity regarding the future development of King City. They would like more transparency from their council, and in terms of development especially. And one of the other ones was people really want more spaces to eat. They want more spaces to congregate. They want, more amenities of that type, maybe some public art, maybe some electric vehicle charging stations. A food bank was mentioned. Just neighborhood gathering spaces, and a lot of people miss the McCann store. So, like I said, I tried to run through it very quickly because I know we're over time. So, but you guys will get a copy of this as well. Any questions or?
Not on that, but do we have any progress made towards like our 4th of July stuff?
Not particularly. I know we floated the idea of maybe creating an events committee
Yep.
and checking in on that. I know we're kind of in a weird spot with planning it because I know at one point there was a foundation, now there's not a foundation again. So I'm very excited to work towards that, and that's on my list of things to really do. But again, without understanding if we're going to have an events committee or not, or how that process works necessarily, I have a lot of ideas, but they're just on a Word document right now.
All right, we ready to go to council report? Okay, let's start with Councilor Mitchell. Anything to report?
Not yet.
All right, Council President.
Well, as a matter of fact, I do. I'll make it quick. So I went to the Planning Commission meeting on the 28th. It was an interesting meeting, quite a spirited discussion. At one point, the spirited discussion, I think, turned into bullying. And I'm going to address that with our attorney and mayor, because I think we need to address it, because this is a repeat. I've seen it happen before. Of course, went to the charter review meeting. On the 7th, Patty and I went to the Tualatin River Keepers meeting. The last week of May, we're going to have a river paddle with staff and city council and anybody else that wants to play. So mark off the last week of May. And of course, enjoyed the fraud and scam at the senior village. Had the opportunity to introduce our new city manager, and that went over really, really well. Went to the KCCA board meeting, and no less than 6 people complained about the pool, their indoor pool, and the problems they're having there. And that was also another spirited discussion. And at the end of that, Vinny went with us, and I introduced him, and he was roundly accepted. In fact, one lady walked up and said, "God, you're good looking."
She gave me ice cream too, so that.
Oh, that's right. And some of us went to a meeting or two with the Tigard Water Advisory Board. Vinny, Rachel, Max, and Reese Bly with the Tigard Water District. And there'll be more information about that, but there was a lot of discussion. Reese is very, very concerned that there's going to be a 9.0 earthquake off the coast, which will mean a 7.0 earthquake here, which means and he says it'll last 5 minutes, and the liquefaction will happen everywhere, like in the golf course and everywhere. So he wants to have a emergency reservoir built somewhere, and he's focused really heavily on doing that. The guy's got a lot of enthusiasm, and I'm sure we'll get it done. So there'll be a lot more discussion about that in the near future. Good, I think I'm done.
All right. Councilor Tyso.
Sure. I too went to the planning commission meeting, and yes, lively is contentious, but they got through it. So anyway, I'm not going to address any more of that. On the 29th of January, I spent the entire day in Hillsborough at Washington County, working on the community block grant advisory board to review grant requests from the pot of money that Washington County has to distribute, which amazingly enough is somewhere between $8 and $9 million over a year's time. But that also means there were about 20 different grant applications that were able to be funded. A lot of it goes to into housing and food security and mental health and that sort of thing. So I feel really proud of what we as Oregonians do, and it makes me feel really good to be part of that process. And you wonder about, okay, so what do you do in your grading of them? And there's certain benchmarks that each grant applicant has to meet, and Washington County does a great job of monitoring and auditing their activity to make sure that every dollar that is granted is actually spent the way it was intended to be spent. And I came back somewhat excited and showed a brochure to Steve about Washington County has a program that people who live with their income is 80% of the average median income for the area can apply for a 3% simple loan for certain amounts of home improvements up to $25,000. And so I gave the information to Aaron, and hopefully we can put that information and link, am I not speaking? Link on our website so that
As soon
people
as you sent it to me, I did put it on.
can access it. And I also contacted KCCA, and it's sort of like, we'll get back to you. So Steve said I need to get back to them and to sort of request it to more than one person. So I'm going to follow up with that. And then obviously did the Cassell training. Steve and I actually did it together with Katie, and that's kind of cool. That's about all I really have to say.
Counselor Cunningham?
Thank you. Vinny, when you go on the HOA tours, KCC is the master plan. There's a number of smaller HOAs under their umbrella, and you might want to, they think they have quarterly. They don't have regular monthly meetings, but you might want to put that at the bottom of your list.
No, that's good to know.
Those people would like some particular attention because they don't get much in KCC.
Absolutely.
That's just all I wanted to say about that. I also went to the SCAM event. Courtney did a fabulous job. I was so impressed. There were a handful of KCCA residents. There were a handful of Tigard residents. It was mostly people from the senior center. They left to get the attention. They had a lot of good ideas. I learned a lot. It was really a great thing. One of the things that I'm working on, and I need help from every single one of you to work on this thing. I've got this idea that I would like to develop. We talk a lot about how to get people involved. And I think that we could do that by getting maybe a high school student and their families and their classroom involved. The Oregon Mayors Association has Mayor for a Day program, but I'd like to take that up a notch and perhaps appoint a high school civics student probably as an intern, but to serve with us here on City Council and advise us. So I don't know how to pick the person. I think we'd have to contact the principal and the teacher, and maybe they'd have a class vote, maybe they'd have a survey or something. And, the student could then give a report every month, just like we do, about what they're hearing. They could mentor us because we are affecting their future, and they might have opinions about what we're doing to affect their futures. So I think that they would be interesting to take, because I think it would help the teachers, the students, the faculties, the families to get all involved. I think we could build some excitement that way, and we could take them. I know that there are people on this council and in this audience that would take them on a tour of the Bankston Reserve because they hear it talked about probably at home. But how many has actually been there and seen it? I went for my first time a couple of months ago and I was like, oh my God. Or take them around and show them what our towns look like, what our parks look like, what we're talking about, where 137th is. So I'm trying to get, I think we'd have to have a release from the parent for them to participate. And there'd have to be a non-disclosure, although, probably a non-disclosure agreement signed, although the only things that they would participate would be in public. But I think that there's a possibility to create some energy in their classrooms with their teachers when they're talking at home and with their friends. So if you've got ideas, I could use a lot of help on this. That's it for me.
Councilor Aditi.
A few things. The farmers market situation, as far as what we've talked about, becoming a satellite would only last until we learned the process of how to do it ourselves, because there's permits, there's licensing, there's a manager that has to run the whole thing, and we're not capable of that yet. But I'd like to get this done this year, so we're going to press that a little bit. Sue Ricky Smith, our District 26 legislative representative, lives in close proximity to the intersection of 131st and Beef Bend, and she's talked about the traffic getting worse, and she hears it because she lives it. So I've talked to Chief about doing some sort of monitoring of the traffic now before it gets busy with the influx of new people as a baseline to develop where it is and then where it will be after 2 years goes by. Tualatin River Keepers, February 7th, I was not available to attend, but my friend Ken Barker, who's on the board of directors, was there, and he's talked to me about monitoring river quality. And I said, I have no problem with that. That's nothing we have to do with, but they're going to start doing that apparently. Lastly, the one section of the city charter that I seem to like, among other things I don't like, but the section 10.4 Urban Renewal District, and we're going to keep this in. This charter does not preclude the city council from creating an urban renewal district. The definition of an urban renewal project is as an area that's underperforming, underserved, underdeveloped, and deteriorating. I'm in touch with the people at the Lake Oswego Development Agency to determine if that would apply to anything in our area, including the grocery outlet mall. And I think that qualifies as perhaps an urban renewal district that would benefit from definitely some upgrades. So I will keep researching that, and I will let you know what I find out. But that's an area that probably needs to be redone at some point. It's 7 years old, and it's losing its luster, let's put it that way, compared to the area across the street. So that's it.
All right, I guess that just leaves me. I did not attend the Planning Commission meeting, but I did view it, and just wanted to kind of just give a brief statement on some thoughts I had. So I just want to start by thanking Planning Commission. The time, preparation, attention to detail you bring to this role truly makes a difference. You've provided strong, thoughtful recommendations, and that work is very valued. At the same time, the council does depend on you. Every recommendation that comes forward carries weight, and it directly shapes the decisions we make. So there really isn't such thing as like housekeeping items, in my opinion, when we're talking about decisions that impact our community. So we need every item, no matter how routine it may seem, to receive the same level of scrutiny, diligence, and priority that you have shown on many items. That consistency is essential to maintaining public trust and something we must be able to count on. So again, I value the work that you guys do. Thank you for your continued commitment in doing it. This work as thoroughly and responsibly as you can, and keep providing us great recommendations as you have. In addition to that, we also need to make sure that Robert's rules are adhered to in all of our open meetings. Okay, outside of that, we've been pretty busy the last couple weeks. I don't have an itemized list of all the things that I've done, but it's been a lot. What we have looking forward to, myself, council president, Vincent, probably Ronnie, we're meeting with Tigard Life on Friday just to kind of talk about different ways that we can promote the city in Tigard Life, and work with the new reporter Jackson, who was here earlier. So that's Friday. We're also going to be meeting with Representative Sue Ricky Smith just to go over some legislative stuff. Next week, we're going to be meeting with Commissioner Snyder and also Tigard Public Works to discuss more about the emergency water stuff that we'll be bringing you more information as we can. So we got a lot planned. Also went to the Tualatin Water Board meeting last week. That was already mentioned. The Cassell training, which is great. Council now has access to all the financials. We can click through all kinds of things and answer our own questions before we come to the meeting. So we've been pretty busy, but all signs point we're in the right direction. So that's all that I have. Anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Can I hear a second? All right, that took long enough. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, meeting adjourned.